I chilling in my crappy wooden house, about to take a sip from my ugly clay mug, and bam. A whole other lifetime just crash-landed into my brain like a truck made of memories. Turns out, I used to be some regular dude in a world with no magic, no monsters, just smartphones and a boring job. Then a flood said, goodbye, and I said, hello, to being a kid named Luca in a fantasy world. Cool, right? Wrong. Because I know this world. It's from a video game I played. And guess who I got reincarnated as? The main character. The one whose life is basically a highlight reel of suffering. Let me break down my situation real quick. My dad, off fighting a demon lord somewhere. My mom. She's actually a terrifying mega angel called a seraph who used to make monsters cry just by existing. But she slapped a magic ring on herself that sealed all her powers, and now she's just a sick lady coughing up blood in bed. The goddess, her old boss, is literally giving her a divine disease to force her to take the ring off and come crawling back. Mom would rather die than do that. And according to the game story, she does. Oh, and Dad. He beats the demon lord, then gets backstabbed by his own friends. Dead too. So yeah, I'm 6. Both my parents are on a countdown timer to death. And the final boss is literally God, the being who created humans. No pressure. Other kids get reincarnated with cheap powers and a harem. I got reincarnated into a speed run of emotional trauma with a deity who thinks killing an entire village is a nice, get well soon card. Because that's what she does in the original story. Wipes out all the villagers who were mean to Mom as a twisted gift to me. Lady, you're the one who made Mom sick in the first place. That's like setting someone's house on fire and then handing them a marshmallow. Speaking of those villagers, they were outside trash-talking us right now. Oh, that mysterious woman is so sick. What if it's contagious? Why did the great hero marry her? I didn't even look up. Just kept stirring my soup like a tiny, vengeful chef. Now, the one bright side. I've got game knowledge. I know who shows up, who to trust, who's secretly evil, and where the plot goes sideways. My body is pathetically weak. I can't even lift Dad's sword. But I've got a Seraph's bloodline locked behind Mom's matching seal ring. In the endgame, that power turned me into an angel-slaying monster. So the cheat code is there. It's just password protected. I made Mom her herb soup, and when I walked in, she tried to hide the blood on her handkerchief. This woman, who once painted battlefields red without blinking, was fumbling around trying not to worry her little boy. That hurt worse than any boss fight ever could. I told her some made-up story about a famous doctor in a nearby town and said I was going to go check it out. Total lie. She saw right through it, I think, but she just smiled and squeezed my cheek. I grabbed my toy wooden sword, walked out the door, and made myself one promise. The original storyline? I'm shredding it. Mom's living. Dad's living. And that psycho goddess can take her divine plan and shove it. I'm 6 years old, and I have never been more determined in either of my lives. The moment I stepped outside the village, I did something incredibly stupid and incredibly awesome at the same time. See, Mom gave me this ring, matching set with hers, that seals away my angel powers. Her dying wish is basically, please be a normal human boy. Very sweet. Very noble. Very inconvenient when your mom is coughing up blood and the clock is ticking. So I took the ring off. Sorry, Mom. I love you, but I choose the everyone lives ending. And holy, a volcano erupted inside my body. Golden wings burst out of my back like the world's most dramatic puberty. They weren't huge. I'm 6, so they were basically 6-year-old sized, but they were gorgeous. Pure golden light, like someone forged them out of liquid sunshine with glitter sprinkled on top. Absolutely zero stealth capability. Then I flapped them. Once. Twice. My feet left the ground. I was flying. Both lifetimes combined. This was my first time defying gravity with my own body, and let me tell you, every roller coaster ever built is garbage compared to this. I was zooming across fields at bicycle speed, hugging the ground so my glowing but wouldn't attract attention. Birds scattered in panic. Wind in my face. Life was good. For exactly 24 minutes. Because here's the thing about flying. Nobody tells you that landing is a completely separate skill. I found the hidden angel village, Enrica, tucked away in this gorgeous dense forest. Great. I made it. I thought, angling my wings down to slow myself. Except I angled too hard. and suddenly I was a 6-year-old golden cannonball screaming through the air at terminal velocity. I obliterated someone's perfectly stacked firewood pile. Boom. Wood everywhere. Dust cloud. I was jammed headfirst into the wreckage with my little legs kicking in the air like an upside-down beetle. I barely pulled myself out before a sword was at my throat. Did Ilias send you? I looked up along the blade, and wow. Standing there was basically what my mom would look like if she wasn't dying. Same blue eyes, same face shape, but healthier, sharper, radiating. I will end you. Energy in a way that was honestly kind of comforting. Golden hair tied up high, warrior posture, wearing a plain robe that absolutely could not hide the fact that she was built like a goddess. The non-evil kind. This was Michaela, my aunt, Mom's twin sister, one of the 2 original angels ever created. Her official title is sort of the heavenly host, and her whole deal in the original game was pretending to be retired. She'd sit around in this village going, "Oh, I'm just a rusty old sword, don't mind me," and then casually pull out enough power to smack the actual goddess in the face. Twice. The ultimate, I'm not even trying, character. And right now, this legendary warrior was staring at the 6-year-old disaster child who'd just carpet-bombed her firewood. She recognized me. Of course she did. She'd been secretly checking on us. Her sword went down, and she crouched to my level, looking at me with those same blue eyes Mom has, except without the pain behind them, without the sickness, without the quiet countdown. It hit me harder than the firewood pile. I launched into my prepared story. Mom mumbles your name when she has fevers. She mentioned Enrica. I came here on my own because the village doctors can't help. Please, she's so sick. All lies. Mom never told me about this place. I found it through cheat code game knowledge. But the tears? Those were real. Because when I talked about Mom secretly washing her bloody handkerchiefs at night so I wouldn't see them, thinking I was asleep. Yeah, that wasn't acting anymore. Michaela put her hand on my head. Same gesture as Mom. Exact same. Follow me, she said. I scrambled after her with my arms full of broken wood sword pieces, my golden wings still glowing behind me like a "kick me" sign for any passing deity. How did you fly here? She asked without turning around. I just opened the wings and thought about flying. First time? Why yes. Pause. Not bad for a first flight. Another pause. The landing needs a lot of work. I grinned like an idiot. That was ant speak for, you crashed into my stuff, and I'm not even mad. Then I hit her with the big question. Will you teach me things? She gave me this sideways look, mouth barely twitching. Don't get your hopes up. I'm just a rusty sword these days. Sure you are, Auntie. Sure you are. But then she got serious. She stopped in front of her cabin and told me about purification and meditation, angel healing techniques. She said Mom's old meditation ability, Brilliant Stars meditation, could heal both mind and body. Can it save Mom? I whispered. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached over and picked a wood chip out of my hair, the exact same tender gesture Mom uses, and said, so quietly it was almost to herself, a life cornered by Ilias. Maybe death isn't the only way to fight back. I froze. Because that one sentence meant everything. It meant she wasn't going to just respect Mom's wish to die this time. It meant there was a door open that didn't exist in the original story. She led me inside. First, you learn to control those wings. Next time it won't be a firewood pile you crash into. I followed her in, clutching my pile of wood scraps, tail, wings, wagging. And on cue, my wing clipped the door frame and knocked a board loose. Michaela caught it without looking, set it aside like she'd been expecting it, and kept walking. So yeah, updated life goals. 1. Save Mom. 2. Save Dad. 3. Overthrow a literal goddess. 4. Learn how to land. That last one is not because I'm embarrassed. Absolutely not. I am a dignified reincarnated adult in a child's body, and I do not get embarrassed about crashing into firewood. Absolutely not. Okay, so my aunt is officially terrified of me. In a good way, I think. Michaela started teaching me meditation, the basic, close your eyes and feel the energy, stuff. Apparently, in angel school, even talented students need 2 weeks to get the basics down. Angels are just too busy thinking about the goddess's homework assignments and smiting quotas to clear their heads. I did it in one breath. My wings just stopped flapping and went perfectly still, like hitting pause on a video. Michaela stared at me. Have you done this before? Nope. It just feels like breathing. She went quiet for 3 whole seconds. I could practically hear her brain rebooting. Then she muttered something about understanding why her sister fell for a human man, which, hey, that's my dad you're talking about, Annie. Next up, purification. She warned me this one was harder. You have to convert angel power into healing energy with precise frequency and intensity control. Mom apparently spent over 10 years and still couldn't learn it. That's because all she wanted to do was chop things, Michaela said with a completely straight face. Thanks for the family history, Andy. My first attempt, I purified a bowl of water. It started glowing. Michaela told me, deadpan, that glowing water is not drinkable. Good to know. Second attempt, I purified my broken wooden sword pieces. They became the cleanest broken wooden sword pieces in existence. Absolutely sparkling rubble. Very useful. Third attempt, I tried purifying Michaela herself. Her hair floated up dramatically for a few seconds like she was in a shampoo commercial, then settled back down. Her eye twitched. Just once. At least the direction is correct. She's so patient, it's almost scary. But with her coaching, too fast. Focus smaller. You trying to purify the whole village. I gradually got it under control. The wild golden light at my fingertips went from an angry puppy yanking its leash to a calm, warm glow. I touched a pot of dead herbs and watched green spread back through the leaves like time running in reverse. I did it. The dead plant was alive again, standing tall with fresh little sprouts poking out. Michaela inspected it, then looked at my face, which was apparently white from concentration. Her verdict? Barely passing. You finished half a day faster than I expected. What was your original estimate? 3 days? And you said Mom spent 10 years and couldn't. She only wanted to stab things. Michaela stood up with the faintest smirk. You just healed one plant. I take back every warm feeling I had about this woman. Anyway, Golden Sundara Ant. That's her label. Filed and saved. By evening, I could reliably resurrect dead plants. Not exactly cure Mom's divine plague level, but it's a start. I packed up the healed herbs to bring home as tea for Mom. Then, right at the door, I dropped the bomb I'd been sitting on all day. Our monsters. All bad guys. The air went dead quiet. Michaela gave me the textbook answer first. The goddess's scripture says they're filth, enemies of humanity, must be purified. But, she sighed. And in that sigh was about 1,000 years of baggage, broken faith, old wars, regret. She told me about the great holy demon war from centuries ago. The monster side was led by a being called the Dark God, with 6 ultra-powerful subordinates. The war dragged on for decades until the goddess ended it by threatening to destroy the entire world unless the enemy surrendered. Not, I'll beat you. Not, let's negotiate peace. Just, give up or I blow up everything, including my own stuff. That's our beloved goddess, folks. The one humans sing hymns about. Real team player. So it was never good versus evil? I asked. Michaela looked at me with those calm blue eyes. Justice is a word only winners get to define. Bars. Absolute bars from Andy. Then she crouched down to my level and said something I'll never forget. Monsters aren't born evil. Humans aren't born good. Labeling an entire race as filth, that's not justice. After that, I went for the real play. I asked about Dad fighting the Demon Lord. Is Dad beating up a good person? Is he becoming a bad guy? Michaela actually laughed, flicked my forehead, and called me a worrywart like Mom. Then she explained that the current Demon Lord, Alice the 15th, aka my future mother-in-law, she doesn't know that part, declared war on all 4 human nations at once. I casually asked, why not just attack one country? Wouldn't that be easier? And I watched in real time as Michaela's brain shifted from casual chat mode to Supreme Military Commander analyzing a battlefield. Her eyes went sharp. She started connecting dots I'd barely nudged. Attacking all 4 at once creates universal fear. Fear drives humans to pray. Prayer goes to the goddess. So the Demon Lord wanted to attract a hero. But heroes are replaceable, unless she didn't care about winning. Unless she's trying to die. Then she figured out the rest on her own, that it's all a deal between the Demon Lord and the goddess. The Demon Lord offers her life, and in exchange, the goddess goes easy on monsters. A scripted play. A fixed match. I just stood there pretending to be an innocent kid while internally screaming. I dropped one question at one critical point, And this woman reverse-engineered the entire political conspiracy in 30 seconds. If she'd been a detective in my old world, crime shows would be one episode long. Then she said the magic words, "I need to go out to the Demon Lord's castle." She threw on a dark cloak, tucked her golden hair away, and told me she was going to stop Dad from killing the Demon Lord, because if he actually does it, that blood is on his hands forever. Won't the goddess notice? I won't let her. Cold. Confident. Absolutely terrifying anti-energy. She shooed me home. I spread my wings and took off into the twilight, flying way better than before. Trees passed underneath like a dark green carpet. Stars came out overhead. The moon was silver and beautiful. I was actually enjoying the night flight, feeling proud of myself. Then the sky got bright again. Wait, it's nighttime. Why is it bright? I looked up. Every drop of blood in my body turned to ice. A waterfall of pure, holy, overwhelming light was pouring down from the heavens. The clouds dissolved. The wind stopped. Everything went silent under that crushing divine pressure. And from inside that light, Esichi descended. Golden hair flowing like a river of starlight. A face so perfect it felt like a weapon. Every angle mathematically flawless, radiating mercy and coldness at the same time. White wings spread behind her, each feather tipped with tiny stars, sending golden ripples through the air with every beat. A white dress that moved on its own, hugging a figure that was simultaneously holy and unfairly gorgeous. She wasn't beautiful the way people are beautiful. She was beautiful the way an avalanche is beautiful. The kind of beauty that makes you feel very, very small and very, very mortal. The goddess Ilias, creator of humans, creator of angels, the final boss, the woman whose love is killing my mother. She looked down at me with those blue eyes, the same blue as mine, the same blue as Mom's, and smiled the warmest, most gentle, most absolutely horrifying smile. My dear Luca, your wings are so pretty. I'm 6 years old. I just left the tutorial zone, and the endgame boss is standing right in front of me. So fun fact about the all-powerful goddess who created the universe. She's not actually all-knowing. She can't watch everything at once. The reason she showed up right now wasn't because she detected me. It was because she was doing paperwork. Evil paperwork. She was literally flying around my village area counting up which neighbors had been mean to Mom, adding names to her divine hit list. Her master plan? Wait until Mom breaks down, crawls back to her on her knees, and then wipe out every villager who ever said a bad word about her with a designer plague. Custom targeted. Precision death. It's like if your older sister ran away from home, and you said, "Fine, I don't care," but then secretly installed hidden cameras around her house and started a revenge spreadsheet on everyone who looked at her funny. Except the spreadsheet is a death warrant and the older sister is God. She just happened to sense my angel power while doing her neighborhood surveillance rounds. Oops. My dear Luca, your wings are so pretty. There I was, frozen midair like a loading screen character, wings flapping on autopilot, brain completely blue-screened. I knew I'd run into her eventually, but this early? I literally just learned one skill. I haven't even saved at a checkpoint yet. Even the Dark Souls guy wouldn't put the final boss in the tutorial area. Then she put her hand on my head, and everything I knew, every warning, she's the villain, reminder, every ounce of common sense, just wobbled. Because her touch was warm. Not regular warm. Warm like being wrapped in sunrise itself. My angel powers literally come from her. We're connected at the source code level. Feeling safe around her isn't a choice. It's hardwired into my DNA. Like a baby duck imprinting on the first thing it sees. Except the duck knows the thing is a fox and still wants to cuddle. Then she started her speech, and oh boy, it was a performance. Act 1. Creation Mythology. Billions of years ago, I made the earth, the sky, the oceans, the plants, the animals, the angels, and humans. Standard Sunday school stuff. I've heard priests recite this in my sleep. She was basically reading me her own Wikipedia page. Act 2. The tragic origin of monsters. During creation, some failures slipped through my fingers. Ugly, forbidden things that fell into the dark side of the world. That's what monsters are, stains on my beautiful creation. She even did this perfect little sad-eye thing. Just the right amount of sorrow. Oscar-worthy. Act 3. The personal touch. This is where she shifted gears. She went from reading scripture, voice to, "I'm talking just to you." voice. She told me how monsters torment her beloved humans with violence and other things, how she loves every pure human soul, how she hates monsters from the depths of her being. Then she lifted my chin with her finger, forced eye contact, and delivered the kill shot. But you're different, my Luca. Her eyes locked onto mine, and I swear they drilled past my eyeballs, past my brain, past both my lifetimes, and found the exact spot in my soul that's been starving for approval since forever. The spot that wanted someone powerful to look at me and say, "You're special." She told me I was born for a great destiny, that my father is a hero, that my angel blood makes me extraordinary, that taking off my seal ring was an act of loyalty that even some angels couldn't match. She leaned in close, golden hair falling around me like a curtain of starlight, and said I was a child blessed by the goddess, destined to slay the demon lord and purify the world. The wind stopped. The insects went silent. The moonlight froze. The entire planet held its breath so nothing would compete with her voice. And I felt it. That's the terrifying part. I knew she was manipulating me. I could see the strings. This was a textbook cult recruitment speech. Isolate the target, establish authority, create emotional dependency, assign divine purpose. I could write an essay about every trick she was using. But my heart was still going. That I mean, would it really be that bad though? That's how dangerous she is. She doesn't need to fool your brain. She just needs your heart to hesitate for 1 second. Then she tapped my forehead with one finger. My wings snapped shut and dissolved into light dust. All that angel power I'd been freely using got shoved back inside me and locked behind some kind of divine valve. Like she just installed parental controls on my superpowers. Don't misuse this power, my Luca. And here came the real gut punch. She explained, in that same sweet, caring voice, that human bodies can't handle too much holy energy. Using angel power too often as a kid would cause something called holy element crystallization. Basically, my body would slowly turn to stone, starting from my fingers and toes, spreading inward, until I'd become a statue that never wakes up. I knew this. In the original game, future me went absolutely berserk during the final battle, throwing out every angel technique like a maniac, burning through power like there was a clearance sale on miracles. And afterward, his body started petrifying, slowly, painfully, inch by inch turning to cold stone. And the one who saved him? The one who reversed the irreversible? Ilias herself. With her dying breath, she reset the damage. The power that nearly killed him was hers. The power that saved him was also hers. The person who pushed him to the edge was Ilias. The person who pulled him back was also Ilias. This woman standing in front of me, gently stroking my hair and telling me to be careful. She's simultaneously the mastermind behind everything wrong in this story and the one who redeems herself at the very end. Something twisted deep in my chest. Not anger, not fear. Something way more complicated. Because how do you fight someone who's both the disease and the cure? Who loves you in the most broken, controlling, possessive way possible, and yet, at the very end, when it counts, genuinely loves you. I'm 6 years old, standing in a moonlit field, being lovingly brainwashed by God herself. And for the first time in both my lives, I have absolutely no idea what to feel. Time to deploy the waterworks. Look, I'm not proud of it. But when the literal goddess of creation is floating in front of you, glowing like a celestial chandelier, and you need something from her, you CRY. You cry like you've never cried before. You cry like someone told you your dog ran away, and then your ice cream fell on the ground at the same time. But if I can't use this power, I can't save my mom. I let my shoulders shake. I squeezed my little fingers together until my knuckles went white. My wings flickered behind me like sad candles. I even let a real tear roll down my cheek and splat dramatically in the dirt. Please, goddess. Please save my mommy. And inside Ilias's head, I guarantee you fireworks were going off. Party poppers. A full orchestra playing her theme song. Because this was her dream scenario. Mom's son, the kid mom tried so hard to keep away from her, standing here begging for her help. In her mind, I was basically kneeling even though I was standing up. She was having the time of her immortal life. She wiped my tears with her thumb like I was a baby bird. She was genuinely in a good mood. I could feel her smugness radiating like body heat. Of course I can help you, my Luca. Then she put her finger on my lips before I could respond. Which, boundaries, lady? and laid out the terms of what I can only describe as the worst contract in the history of divine deals. The Ilia's Premium Healing Plan, Terms and Conditions. Clause 1. Every Sunday, sunrise to sunset, I have to pray to her in church. Not casual prayer. Not, hey thanks for the food, prayer. Full power, maximum devotion, zero dignity worship. An entire day, every single week. Clause 2. In exchange, she'll clean out the holy energy that's slowly turning me to stone, and she'll let me use my angel powers to heal Mom. Buy one get one deal on divine healthcare. Clause 3. For the permanent fix, making my body fully compatible with angel power forever, I have to complete my mission, which means kill the demon lord, exterminate every monster on the planet, and scrub the world squeaky clean. Then she'll upgrade me in some fancy heaven ceremony into a real angel. Clause 4. Unwritten, the whole thing is designed to make me psychologically dependent on her. Can't heal Mom without her permission. Can't survive without her maintenance visits. Can't ever feel safe without her approval. It's not a deal, it's a leash. She's basically a monopoly health insurance company with divine powers. Nice body you have there. Sure would be a shame if it turned to stone. Lucky for you. I accept prayers as payment. I wiped my eyes, put on my best grateful soldier face, and delivered my line. Thank you, goddess. I'll dedicate everything to you. She smiled. A real smile this time, with a tiny flicker of, I win, in her eyes. The rebel sun, back in her palm. She was so pleased with herself, she probably would have done a little dance if goddesses did that sort of thing. Then she snapped her fingers, reality folded like origami, and I was standing on the dirt road outside my village. Just like that. Divine Uber, no tip required. I stood there for a second, breathing in the night air, and let myself grin. She thinks she's got me on a leash? I'm a liberal arts major from my past life. I spent years learning the ancient art of writing essays that sound incredibly meaningful while saying absolutely nothing. Goddess wants weekly prayer sessions? Oh, she's going to get prayers. Beautiful, eloquent, deeply moving prayers that are basically just pretty words arranged in circles. She's going to experience the full power of Eastern literary tradition, flowery language, zero substance, maximum sincerity vibes. Forgot the beginning, forgot the middle, forgot the end, but your grace is truly endless, dear goddess, that kind of energy. But all of that scheming evaporated the moment I turned the last corner and saw my house. One tiny warm glow in the window. The fire was almost dead, but someone had kept it going. Just barely. Just enough to say, I'm still here. I'm waiting. Mom was sitting on her bed, wrapped in a faded old blanket, leaning against the headboard. She'd been waiting. For who knows how long. She'd just been sitting there in the dark, with her dying fire and her medicine pot, waiting for her 6-year-old to come home. She opened her eyes when the door creaked. You're back? Like I'd just been out playing a little too long. No interrogation. No panic. Just quiet warmth. She noticed my red eyes and runny nose. I'd been crying for real at some point and didn't even realize it. But she didn't ask questions. She just lifted the corner of her blanket and held out her hand. Come here. It's cold outside. She picked a wood chip off my shoulder, wiped sweat from my forehead, told me there was warm porridge on the stove. And just like that, all the enormous cosmic chess I'd been playing today, angel training, goddess manipulation, secret conspiracies, saving the world level planning, all of it just melted away. Gone. Irrelevant. I was a 6-year-old kid. My mom waited up for me. There was warm food. That was enough. That was everything. Time flies when you're secretly training to overthrow God. One minute you're a 6-year-old crying into soup. The next you're, well, still a kid, but a busy kid. Let me catch you up on the wild stuff that happened while I was growing up. First, Auntie Michaela absolutely cooked. She went to the monster continent, didn't fight anyone, didn't talk to anyone. She just stood there, menacingly, like showing up to a party uninvited and making everyone uncomfortable just by existing. And it worked. See, the monsters have this fox lady named Tamamo, a 9-tailed fox, ancient and cunning. Basically the demon lord's right-hand woman. The moment she heard, the sword of heaven is in monster territory, every single one of her 9 tails puffed up like feather dusters. She went full panic mode, cranked security around the demon lord to maximum, wouldn't let the demon lord out of her sight. Which was perfect, because the demon lord's big plan was to die. Alice the 15th, my future mother-in-law, not that anyone knows that yet, had this whole noble sacrifice thing planned. Get killed by a hero, trade her death for the goddess, going easy on monsters. Very tragic, very poetic, very ruined, because Tamamo wrapped her in so much bubble wrap, she couldn't get within stabbing distance of Dad's sword. So the demon lord had to fake it. Oh no, I'm so injured from battle. Guess I'll retire and pass the crown to my daughter. The world's most dramatic fake death. Reality TV has nothing on monster politics. Meanwhile, my future wife, Alice the 16th, took the throne by beating up every challenger who wanted it, proving that in this family, the women handle business. And then, Dad came home. He pushed open the door and said 3 words, "I'm back." Mom leaned against the doorframe, smiled, and said, "Welcome home." That was it. No dramatic music. No running into each other's arms in slow motion. Just 2 people who love each other being simple and quiet about it. But I noticed Mom kept turning away to wipe her eyes when she thought nobody was looking. She did this like 5 times. "Lady, we can all see you." Dad turned out to be annoyingly handsome. He's supposed to be old guy age, but he looks like he's barely 20-something when he smiles. No wonder he managed to seduce one of heaven's most powerful angels. Actually, I need to stop thinking about my parents' love story before it gets weird. He started teaching me swordplay during the day, strict during training, fixing every wrong angle, every lazy footwork. But the second practice ended, he'd ruffle my hair, say, "Great improvement today," and magically produce a bunch of wild grapes from behind his back, like some kind of dad wizard. Where was he even keeping those? Aunt Michaela, mission accomplished, snuck back to Enrica without anyone noticing. She'd show up on a hill near our village on certain nights, standing in the moonlight looking all dramatic, and greet my gasping, exhausted self with, "Too slow." Then she'd beat me up with sword training until dawn. Dad taught me daytime, and he taught me nighttime. I literally did not have time to breathe, let alone wonder why my dad and my aunt never appeared in the same room together. They had their reasons. She's a fallen angel. He's a human hero. Awkward workplace dynamics. But honestly, I think they were just taking turns trying to kill me through exercise. And then there's Sunday, Goddess Day, my weekly appointment with the universe's most high-maintenance deity. Every Sunday, Ilias would beam her consciousness into my brain during prayer. It was like a VIP private lesson where the teacher is also your stalker and also God. She'd teach me holy techniques, and I'd sit there looking super devout while internally going, "So this is basically a premium tutoring subscription I pay for with my dignity." But here's the thing that made it all worthwhile, or at least survivable. I started writing her poetry. Not "roses are red" garbage. Real poetry. Classical Chinese-style 7-character verses with rhyming, parallelism, and maximum flattery. My past life as a liberal arts student finally paid off. The first time I dropped one of these on her during prayer. Something about her creating heaven and earth, shaping mankind. Her mercy outshining 10,000 ages of grace. The goddess literally went silent. She's been alive for billions of years. Angels sing her hymns. Humans recite her scriptures. But nobody, in the entire history of the universe, had ever sat down and written her a personal poem. With effort. With style. That was acceptable, she said, after a pause so tiny only a god could pull it off. Write another one next Sunday. Acceptable? Lady, I could feel you blushing through the psychic link. You loved it. You ate it up. Don't pretend. From then on, every Sunday was one fresh poem, one very pleased goddess pretending not to be pleased, and one free lesson in divine magic. She started showing up early to our sessions. Early. The creator of the universe was logging on ahead of schedule, like a fan waiting for their favorite series to update. I basically became God's favorite poet, her weekly emotional support human. I wrote about her beauty, her wisdom, her power, her compassion, ran through every possible angle of flattery until I was scraping the bottom of the compliment barrel. And she just kept coming back for more. Meanwhile, the real magic was happening at home. Every night, I'd secretly use my angel healing on Mom. Just a little. Gentle. Consistent. Between that and Ilias quietly easing up on the divine plague. Probably because she was in too good a mood from my poems to properly torment anyone. Mom started getting better. The woman who could barely walk to the kitchen was now gardening, reading old books in the afternoon sun. moving around without coughing. She never asked me about the angel powers. She knew. She was the strongest seraph in history. Of course, she could sense the same energy in her own son. But she respected my choices the same way I respected hers. She watched me stumble through growing up, patched me up when I got hurt, and sat quietly beside me when I was lost. So yeah, my weekly schedule: Dad's sword boot camp, Auntie's midnight murder sessions, and God's poetry appreciation hour. 3 teachers, 3 completely incompatible teaching styles, 1 extremely tired student. But Mom was alive. Dad was alive. And for now, that was the whole point. My family is a collection of frauds, and I love every single one of them. Let's start with Mom's cooking. Now that she's feeling better, Mom decided she wanted to cook for the family. Noble goal. Terrible execution. She stood in the kitchen wearing a faded apron, holding a wooden spatula like a general planning a siege. And, I swear this is real, she pointed a kitchen knife at a fish and said, "If you don't cooperate, I'll exterminate your entire species," with the most terrifying smile I've ever seen on a former angel of mass destruction. Half an hour later, I walked in the door, and my nose immediately tried to leave my face. The smell was, imagine if burned onions and too much soy sauce had a baby, and that baby was raised by caramelized sugar that had given up on life. It was a crime against all 5 senses, and I hadn't even looked at it yet. The dish itself was dark brown. Like, what was this originally? Dark brown. Could have been fish. Could have been vegetables. Could have been a war crime. No way to tell from visual inspection alone. Mom turned around holding this plate like she'd just painted the Mona Lisa. Proud, but also a tiny bit nervous. Her face said, "I tried really hard." And her eyes said, "Please don't run." I picked up my chopsticks. I put a piece in my mouth. Salt. So much salt. A salt mine would have filed a complaint. But underneath that salt tsunami, I could taste burned egg and a tiny pinch of cumin. She remembered I liked cumin. She thought about what I'd enjoy. She planned this. She really, genuinely tried. She just absolutely cannot cook. At all. Not even a little. "How is it?" she asked, looking at me with those big, hopeful eyes. "Major improvement," I said, fighting every muscle in my face. "Last time I had to run to the bathroom 3 times. This one will probably only need 1 trip." She glared at the fish like it had personally betrayed her. "Auntie Michaela once told me, your mom was an absolute menace when she was young." I'm starting to understand what she meant. This woman used to make entire armies tremble in fear. She cannot make a fish tremble in a frying pan. "I'll use less salt next time," she promised solemnly. "You said that last time. This time I mean it." I sighed, rolled up my sleeves, and took over the kitchen. Grabbed the spatula from her, pulled out the fish Dad caught earlier, and went to work. Heat the pan, oil in, sizzle, fry, flip, season, smooth and automatic. The muscle memory of 20-plus years of cooking for myself in my past life. "Where did you even learn to do all this?" Mom asked, leaning against the doorframe, watching me with genuine amazement. "Taught myself," I said, which is technically true. Just in a different body, in a different universe, where I ate alone most nights. When the simple grilled fish hit the table, Mom took 1 bite, went quiet for several seconds, then looked at her own dark brown disaster with an expression I can only describe as betrayed by the universe. "Teach me. Next time." "Sure, Mom." While cleaning up, I had a random thought. If I'm going to be cooking for a certain someone in the future, a certain hungry snake girl, I should probably expand my menu. Just thinking ahead. No big deal. Now, let me tell you about my father's darkest secret. The legendary hero Marcellus, slayer of monsters, survivor of the Demon Lord campaign, a man whose name makes warriors salute and demons shudder. He cannot fish. He's bad at fishing. He is cosmically incompatible with the concept. He can cast a perfect line, gorgeous arc, the float lands dead center of the pond. Then he sits there for 2 hours, motionless, posture so perfect he looks like a statue of a knight in a temple. 0 fish. Not 1. Ever. "Dad," I said, sitting next to him with my own rod. "Did you put the bait on backwards?" He looked at his hook with the calm confidence of a man who has faced death 100 times. "It seems so. Where did you get the seams from?" "It's literally upside down. Your mother says I'm naturally cursed against long creatures. Snakes, fish, that sort of thing." I stared at his unfairly youthful face and thought, that explanation makes 0 scientific sense, but somehow I completely believe it. This man radiates. I will fight anything with a sword and win energy. He does not radiate. I understand how worms work, energy. He sat by that pond like he was waiting for a kraken to burst out of the water so he could finally do something he's good at. Actually, we don't have to catch anything, he said suddenly. Just sitting here is nice. I looked over. Sunlight filtering through the willow branches, dappling his face. The legendary hero, leaning against a tree trunk, eyes half closed, faint smile, completely relaxed. He looked like a man who had finally found the one battlefield he didn't need to win. We sat in comfortable silence for a long time. Then, Luca, do you really want to become a hero? His voice was gentle. Casual. But not just casual. Do you think I can't? It's not about can't. You've already proven you can handle the physical pain. You've been training hard for years. But you'll face choices that have no right answer. Choices that might not even lead to good outcomes no matter what you pick. He paused, and his voice got even softer. What I'm saying is, if you don't want to be a hero, that's perfectly fine. Do what you want. Don't walk a path just because someone else wants you on it. I gripped my fishing rod. I could feel a faint trembling through the bamboo. Maybe a fish testing the bait. Maybe just the wind. Didn't matter. I want to be a hero, I said. Quiet. Certain. Not because someone else wants me to. Because I want to. Is that so? His smile deepened just a fraction. Then do it well. But first, I added, maybe learn how to put bait on a hook? Come again tomorrow. Sure. We caught absolutely nothing that day. On the walk home, I secretly detoured to the market and bought 2 fish, then told Mom we'd caught them. Mom took the fish, looked at Dad, and gave him this look. A look so layered with meaning that it took me years to decode. She knew. She'd always known Dad couldn't fish. She'd been eating market fish labeled fresh catch for their entire marriage. She just never said anything. My family is ridiculous. My mom is a retired angel who can't cook. My dad is a legendary hero who can't fish. And I'm a reincarnated office worker pretending to be a child prodigy. We are all liars. And it's perfect. Auntie Michaela has a secret mountain hideout, and it's the most peaceful place in existence. 3 sides mountain, 1 side stream, 0 neighbors for miles. Herb garden everywhere, moss-covered stone steps, and a wind chime made from seashells that apparently just blew in one day, and she decided to keep. The whole vibe screams. Retired legendary warrior who now has strong opinions about gardening. She'd show up at random nights, yank me out of bed, teleport me there, and sometimes we wouldn't even train. She'd just want company. Or she'd suddenly need to confirm her sister's family was still alive. Very casual about it. Very, oh, I just happened to be in the area. Energy from a woman who lives in a hidden valley and never goes anywhere. How's your mom doing? She asked one evening, holding tea she'd been nursing for 20 minutes without taking a single sip. Pretty good. She can walk around now. She's even cooking. Michaela's eyebrow twitched. Cooking? It's not great. She nodded, face completely blank, but I swear she relaxed. Like, my sister's cooking is still terrible, was proof that the universe was functioning correctly. A cosmic constant. Gravity pulls things down, the sun rises in the east, and Lucifina cannot cook. That's good then, she said quietly, staring into her cold tea. I didn't ask what exactly was good. After all these years, I'd learned to read her. Those eyes, identical to Mom's, held layers of feelings she'd never name. This whole hidden valley, this quiet little house with its plum trees and herb gardens, existed as a door that was always unlocked for certain people, even if those people never came through it. One day I showed up expecting sword drills, and she handed me a basket instead. The plums on the back mountain are ripe. Come pick them with me. So we spent the entire afternoon in a plum orchard. She taught me which ones were ready, how to knock the high ones down without breaking branches, how to salt preserve them so they'd keep. She was so focused and careful about it. Nothing like a legendary angel warrior, everything like a mountain grandma who's been doing this for decades. She tasted a pinch of salt while pickling. The sour-sweet flavor made her mouth curl into a tiny, rare smile. Lucifina likes these, she said suddenly. Then, quieter, almost to herself, next time, I'll pickle an extra jar for her. Why does Mom like these? Probably because she likes things that are tart and unripe. She caught herself mid-sentence and course-corrected so hard I almost got whiplash. Because they're chewy. They don't fall apart in one bite. Nice save, Auntie. Real smooth. Definitely not an accidental comment about mom's taste in men. Dad's youthful baby face has nothing to do with this conversation. Does mom know you still secretly visit to check on her? Michaela popped a plum in her mouth, chewed slowly, and said with zero expression, sour. Translation, I'm not answering that. But the tiny curve at the corner of her mouth didn't go away for the rest of the afternoon. Now Sunday, Poetry Day, my weekly performance review with the Almighty. I was kneeling in church, posture perfect, spine straight, hands together, eyelids down. Years of practice had turned my fake pious act into an art form. I could maintain this face through an earthquake. Luca, the goddess's voice pinged into my brain right on schedule. And then, immediately, where's this week's poem? She tried to sound dignified about it. She really did. But there was this tiny, barely there urgency underneath, like someone who's been waiting all week for a package delivery and is trying really hard not to rip the box open with their teeth. I cleared my mental throat and delivered this week's piece. Not a regular 7-character poem this time. I'd upgraded to CI, a more complex poetic form with richer rhythm and structure. Hit her with imagery about stars and light, divine beauty, eternal mercy, rain-like grace, and then the finishing blow, across all creation. Who is worthy to stand beside you? Silence. 2, maybe 3 heartbeats of silence. You changed the form. This isn't a 7-character poem. It's called CI. More complex rhythm. Acceptable. Her voice was perfectly composed. Totally neutral. Except the last syllable went up just a hair. And after years of these sessions, I knew exactly what that meant. The lid was rattling on the pot. She was boiling with happiness underneath and pressing down with both hands. Write this form next week too. As you wish, goddess. I swallowed my grin so deep it probably landed in my stomach. Meanwhile, and I didn't know this at the time, up in her giant empty heavenly palace, Ilias was standing alone in front of a magic mirror, watching me pray. She was repeating that last line to herself. Who is worthy to stand beside you? And then she snapped her fingers and ordered a low-ranking angel to rearrange the flower beds because they weren't neat enough, and to swap the choir schedule because Team 1's hymns were slightly better last month. The little angel was confused. The goddess's commands were absolute, as always, but today her voice had something softer underneath, something she probably didn't even notice herself. She stood at her cathedral window, looked down at the image of me praying, and her lips curved upward by the smallest possible amount. What would he write next week? The goddess of creation, the supreme being of the universe, was looking forward to Sunday, and she would absolutely never, ever admit it. I had accidentally turned God into my weekly subscriber. She was basically refreshing her inbox every 7 days waiting for new content. The most powerful being in existence had become a fan. Liberal arts degree, still the best investment of both my lifetimes. And then, Tom did what time does. The little kid who crash-landed into a firewood pile grew up. The short legs got longer. The baby face sharpened. Purple hair, blue eyes, a body still lean but no longer small. I stood in that same church, looking through the same stained glass windows, but the person reflected back wasn't a 6-year-old schemer anymore. I was an adult now. By any world's calendar, any country's laws, any standard you want to use, I'd grown up. Mom was alive. Dad was alive. Auntie was still pretending to be retired. The goddess was still pretending she didn't care about my poems. And me? I was about to walk into the temple of Ilias for my coming-of-age baptism, the ceremony every aspiring hero has to complete before setting out on their journey. The wind blew through the church, across my face, and out toward the endless world beyond. Fields, mountains, roads I hadn't walked yet, people I hadn't met yet, a certain silver-haired snake girl I hadn't, accidentally, bumped into yet. The prologue was over. My real story was about to begin. Today was supposed to be my baptism day, the big ceremony where I officially become a capital H hero with divine blessing and everything. I'd been training for over a decade for this moment. It didn't happen, obviously, because right on cue, exactly like the game, some dude named Hans came screaming through the village like his pants were on fire. There's a monster in the forest, and the entire village lost its collective mind. People screaming, doors slamming, farmers abandoning their tools in the fields, mothers yelling for kids. This place hasn't seen a monster in ever. The goddess's temple is right there providing holy protection. Monsters shouldn't even be able to get close. So either the protection has a gap, or someone let this happen on purpose. No time to think about that. I grabbed Dad's sword, the one with the little grooves worn into the sheath from his grip, and bolted for the door. Mom, I'm going out. I was gone before she could answer. Sorry, Mom. Your son has main character syndrome, and it's terminal. Neighbor Lady Betty tried to stop me. Don't go, Luca. Let the temple soldiers handle it. It's fine, Betty. I'm a hero. You haven't even been baptized yet. Without the goddess's power, what can a kid do? Hey, come back. She's technically right. In this world, you're not a real hero without the baptism. Everyone knows this. 3-year-olds know this. But I've been getting my butt kicked by 2 of the strongest beings in existence for over 10 years. If I can't handle one forest monster, then what was all that suffering for? The forest was creepy quiet. No birds. No bugs. Just fog and my own breathing. Then I heard rustling in the bushes, and she slid out from behind the trees. A slime girl. She was. Okay, how do I describe this? Imagine a girl made entirely of translucent blue jelly. Human shape from the waist up, very clearly human shape, with curves and everything. And just a blob of goo from the waist down. She wobbled with every movement, making little glurp glurp sounds. And she was humming a tune like she was out for a Sunday stroll. The game's tutorial enemy. Level 1. The easiest monster in existence. Every player's first fight. But here's the thing nobody warned me about. She was naked. Or as naked as a being made of transparent jelly can be. And she was very much shaped like a woman. A curvy woman. I was a virgin in my last life. I am a virgin in this life. My total experience with the female body across 2 entire lifetimes is 0. My ears turned red immediately. Ah, a tasty-looking boy. She giggled at me with that wobbly jelly body bouncing around, and I wanted to die from embarrassment more than from any actual threat. Oh my, is this your first time seeing a monster up close? Stop reading my face. I am a warrior. A trained combatant. I will not be flustered by a sentient dessert. I locked my eyes on her face, her also made of goo face, and tried to sound tough. You're too close to human territory. Could you please go back peacefully? I don't want to hurt you. She tilted her head. It was kind of cute actually, no? Focus. A pacifist? How fun, but sorry. I'm hungry right now. Then her eyes drifted down to my legs. And kept going down. Slowly. With an expression that made every survival instinct in my body scream. Cross your legs? Or maybe. You'd like to satisfy me yourself? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Battle stance now. I raised my sword. Deep breath. Focus. Years of training. This is what it's all, my dear Luca. The goddess's voice exploded in my head. Of all the times for her weekly broadcast, you must exterminate all monsters. Don't forget, you are always. Then her voice just cut off, like someone yanked the plug mid-sentence. Gone. No static, no fade out, just instant silence. Weird. Very weird. But I couldn't think about it because, here I come, blue goo launched at my legs. Wrapped around my calves instantly. My pants started dissolving with a quiet hissing sound. The acid ate through the fabric like it was tissue paper, leaving a huge hole. The skin underneath was fine, but the slime clung to it like a living, breathing, warm layer of, and she was climbing upward, toward a very specific area. Oh no, you don't. I stomped hard enough to shake the slime loose for one split second, jumped backward, and let 12 years of training take over. Wrist rotation, blade arc from low to high, a clean upward slash loaded with purification energy, right through her core. Ugh, she shuddered violently, her whole body wobbling like an earthquake hit a gelatin factory. So strong. She collapsed into a puddle of semi-transparent goo, slowly squirming on the ground. Down but not dead. I sheathed my sword, crouched next to her, and caught my breath. I'm not going to kill you. But don't attack humans again. Not everyone will be as nice about it. She stared at me for a long, confused moment. You're a weird hero. Yeah, I get that a lot. I watched her melt into the forest shadows, made sure she was really gone, and started walking back. My pants had a massive hole in them. Very heroic look. On the way home, my mind wandered to heavy stuff. 30 years ago, humans and monsters actually lived together. Lamia merchants, harpy mail carriers, beast warriors patrolling alongside human soldiers, slimes cleaning sewers. Peaceful coexistence. Then a village called Remina got massacred. The official story, monsters attacked at night, slaughtered everyone. After that, everything fell apart. Monsters got expelled from human cities. Relations collapsed. The demon lord declared war. 30 years of hatred turned a wound into a festering pit. The truth about Ramina was something else. I know I knew this from the game, but the details were tangled up somewhere in my fading memories, just out of reach. Then, boom, an explosion from deep in the forest. Not thunder, not natural. My body spun toward the sound before my brain even registered it. I sprinted, crashed through branches, shoved past vines, dove into the deep woods. And there she was, lying on the ground, not 10 steps away from me. Silver hair spread across the forest floor. A body that was half human girl, half massive serpent. The face of someone royal, proud, beautiful, even unconscious. My brain short-circuited, because I knew her. I knew her from hundreds of hours staring at a computer screen, from every late night clicking through dialogue, from a story I'd lived through in pixels, one scene at a time. My paper waifu. My game wife. The female lead of the entire story. The demon lord, Alice the 16th. She was real. She was here. And she was knocked out cold at my feet. 2 lifetimes of zero experience with women, and the universe drops the final love interest in front of me before I've even had my first date. I am so not ready for this. She was even more beautiful in person, and I hate myself for how corny that sounds. Silver hair splashed across the ground like spilled moonlight. Purple horn things curving from her head like elegant blades. Dark tattoo-like patterns tracing across skin that was very visible, because her outfit was basically decorative suggestions held together by confidence and gold accessories. And from the waist down, a massive red-brown serpent tail covered in fine scales, curled up with the tip resting on a rock. The forest around her looked like a bomb went off. Because one basically did. She'd cratered the ground on impact, snapped trees in half, and was just sleeping through it all, breathing peacefully, like she'd fallen onto a pillow instead of into solid earth from approximately way too high up. 2 lifetimes of memories slammed together. Every late night clicking through her dialogue. Every scene I'd replayed. Every snarky comeback she'd delivered through my monitor. And now she was right there, with actual eyelashes I could count, and actual leaves stuck in her actual hair. Then her eyes snapped open. Gold. Sharp. Immediately locked onto mine like a predator acquiring a target. Where is this? Cold voice. Raspy from just waking up. Zero warmth. Ilia's village, I said with my friendliest smile. I flew all the way to a place like this. She looked around at the destruction she'd caused, rubbed her neck, and muttered, that old hag in her ridiculous strength. She was talking about the goddess. She just called the creator of the universe an old hag. I pretended I didn't understand. And who are you? Those gold eyes locked back on me. Evaluating. Measuring. A hero in training, currently, I said with a little self-deprecating smile. I actually ditched my once-in-a-lifetime baptism ceremony to run out here and help you. And the first thing I get is a cold interrogation. That's a little hurtful, you know? She didn't respond. Instead, she sniffed me. You smell more delicious than any human I've ever encountered, she said, lips curving into the tiniest smirk. And I suspect it's not just because you haven't been baptized. Then she licked her lips. It was fast. Just a flash of tongue. Blink and you'd miss it. I did not miss it. And my body reacted before my brain. My heel shifted back about half an inch. Pure instinct. That look was exactly like the slime girl's look from earlier, and my legs still remembered what happened to my pants. Why do I smell so good to monsters anyway? Is it the angel blood? The soul? Some cosmic setting I forgot about? Probably just a game mechanic that the author never properly explained. She noticed my tiny retreat. Her eyes narrowed. And before I could say anything, her tail moved. It coiled around my waist, pulled me in, wrapped me up like a living rope. The scales were not what I expected. Cool but not cold. Dry and smooth, like silk that's been dipped in stream water. The edges weren't sharp at all. They flexed and shifted with my body like some kind of organic armor that breathed. Every inch of skin that was wrapped felt evenly supported, no pressure points, just this snug all-around embrace. It felt like sinking into a zero-gravity couch. If that couch was alive and belonged to a monster queen. And look, I'd wondered about this since my last life. What does it feel like to be wrapped in a lamia's tail? You can't get that information from a computer screen. Now I finally had my answer, and it was amazing. So naturally, I started petting her tail with my one free hand, just running my fingers along the scales, stroking them, feeling how they slid under my fingertips like polished gemstones. I came to this world. I might as well enjoy it. You abandoned Ilias's boring baptism? Alice tilted her head, looking me over with new interest. You're kind of interesting, little boy. I'm an adult, I said, dead serious, trapped in a snake tail, craning my neck to look taller. I'm a man. She didn't respond to that. Instead, sadness leaked into her eyes. Why? She asked quietly. I was unconscious. You could have killed me. If you want to be a hero, that was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Why didn't you? Why would I hurt you? I said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Like SHE was the one being weird. You said I smelled delicious, I continued, smiling. I'm literally gift-wrapped in your tail right now. Why haven't you eaten me? Silence. Instinct, I answered for both of us. My instinct says you're a good person. The same way yours told you not to hurt me. Wind blew through the broken trees. Silver hair drifted across her face. She didn't brush it away. She just looked at me with those gold eyes, trying to figure out if I was real or the world's most convincing liar. I'd hit the exact right spot. Because she believed the same thing, that humans and monsters didn't have to be enemies. She just never expected to hear a human say it first. If you don't think monsters are enemies, she said, recovering her haughty composure, then why become Ilias's hero? I don't want to be a hero, I said. My father, the previous hero Marcellus, never hated the demon lord either. He just tried to stop a war. What I want is to build a world where humans and monsters can live together in peace. Something flickered behind her eyes. A memory, probably of watching Dad's party fight her mother, and realizing they hadn't gone for the kill. Maybe she started to believe, just a tiny bit, that such a world was possible. And that's when she felt it. A tickling sensation on her tail. She looked down. I was still petting her scales. With enthusiasm, running my fingers back and forth in this curious rhythm, exploring every texture like a kid who just discovered velvet for the first time. You. Genuine confusion broke through the royal mask. What are you doing to my tail? Petting it, I said, freezing for 1 second before returning to total composure. The texture is really interesting. Not a lie. It is interesting. I waited 2 whole lifetimes for this. I am not wasting the opportunity. Her horns wobbled. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Nothing came out. The mighty demon lord, ruler of all monsters, heir to the throne, terror of nations, had been rendered speechless by a human boy casually fondling her snake half. She dropped me from her tail. You are, she started, then stopped. Because what do you say? There's no protocol for this. No royal training covers. What to do when a hero candidate pets your scales without permission and seems to genuinely enjoy it. Then, at the exact same moment, I'm hungry. Me. Want to come to my house for food. Perfect sync. Like we'd rehearsed it. She crossed her arms, forced her face back into regal mode. But one corner of her mouth was doing something it wasn't supposed to, trying to smile while pretending it wasn't. How perceptive of you. Human. Lazy voice, but warm underneath. My name is Alice Afiz Fatalbrun. Given your performance, I'll permit you to call me Alice. State your name. Luca. Luca Hine. Hine, she tilted her head. The name pinged something in her memory, something old and dusty, but she couldn't place it. She frowned for half a second, then shrugged it off. Whatever. I'm starving. Food first. I pointed out that her giant snake tail might scare the villagers. Don't worry about that. She lifted her chin with absolute confidence. Who do you think I am? They won't see through my disguise. Whoa, I said, stretching the word out to the perfect length of fake amazement. So cool. She glanced back at me. My face was pure innocent wonder. But she knew something about my smile was slightly off. She just couldn't prove it. She shape-shifted, hid the tail, and started walking toward the village like she owned it. I followed behind, watching her step over the trees she'd personally demolished, her silhouette stretching long in the morning light. Not a bad first meeting. Not bad at all. I adjusted my sword and jogged to catch up with her. Walking back to the village with Alice, something unexpected happened. I became a celebrity. Luca, you beat the monster all by yourself? Amazing. That's Marcellus's son for you. Like father, like son. I always said that kid was special. Villagers mobbed me at the entrance. Old grandpa giving me thumbs up. Young mom smiling gratefully. Farmers slapping my shoulders with mud-covered hands so hard I stumbled forward. I kept my polite smile going. Oh, it was nothing, just got lucky, while slowly trying to escape the fan club. But I noticed them, standing at the edge of the crowd. The ones who wouldn't look me in the eye. I knew exactly who they were. The people who threw rotten vegetables at our door when Mom was dying. Who, accidentally, knocked the water bucket out of my hands at the well. Who treated us like we were contagious, like poverty was a disease you could catch by breathing near us. I understood fear of plague. I did. But fear doesn't give you the right to bully a sick woman and her kid. In the original story, the goddess would have killed them all with a designer plague. But they didn't deserve death. So I handled it my way. During one of my Sunday prayer sessions, I calmly asked Ilias to please remove the cursed sickness from those villagers, because I wanted to deal with them personally. The goddess, delighted that her favorite poet wanted to dish out some old-fashioned human justice, not only removed their plague, but quietly buffed their health so I could hit them harder without breaking them. Divine Healthcare, sponsored by Petty Revenge. The goddess is terrifying as a wingman. Let's just say those guys still walk on the other side of the street when they pass our house. You're quite popular, Alice said behind me, sounding lazily surprised. Small village. Everyone knows everyone. I caught her watching the villagers with a strange expression, her hidden tail pulled tighter against her body. This whole scene, people crowding around, laughing, slapping shoulders, saying thank you. This was alien to her. Monsters don't do this with their leader. And humans certainly don't do this with monsters. She was witnessing warmth she'd never experienced, and she didn't know where to put it. I didn't point it out. I just slowed down at the turn so she could walk comfortably half a step behind me. Then we arrived at my house. Mom, I brought a guest. The second Alice stepped through the door, I watched Mom's eyes do the fastest threat assessment in military history. Her gaze hit Alice's horns, 1/10 of a second. Slid down to the hidden snake tail, another 10th. Then back up to Alice's disguised human face. Mom smiled. Warm, gentle, perfect housewife energy. Hello there, but I saw it. Behind those kind eyes, the murder calculation was running at full speed. She'd seen right through Alice's disguise in under a second. She's a former seraph, the strongest angel warrior ever created. Of course she could see through a monster's shape-shifting. She said nothing, just welcomed our guest inside. Then she turned to me and her eyes delivered a very clear message in mom telepathy. You have exactly until dinner is over to explain why you brought the demon lord into my house. I'll go cook, I announced, fleeing to the kitchen at maximum speed. Now, this was the moment I'd been preparing for since I was 6 years old. 16 years. 2 lifetimes of cooking experience. From sad microwave meals in a lonely apartment to mastering a full Chinese New Year spread, all of it led to this. I'd been prepping since morning. Everything was washed, chopped, marinated, organized. The slow-cooked beef broth had been simmering since dawn. Spices lined up like soldiers. Wok polished until it gleamed. Today, I was cooking to impress the woman I'd been in love with since my previous life. No pressure. I lit the stove and my hands became machines. Oil smoking, aromatic sizzling. Knife work so fast it sounded like a drum solo. 6 dishes, 1 soup. Northeast-style sweet and sour pork. 8 treasure tofu. Oyster cakes. Sichuan spicy chicken. Black bean steamed ribs. Slow-simmered beef soup. Every regional cuisine from my past world, fired out of my wok in rapid succession. Important context. This world's cooking technology is basically medieval Europe. Salt and a few herbs. Boiling and roasting. That's IT. In the original game, Alice went nuts over dried jerky. The bar was underground, and I showed up with a helicopter. When I set 6 dishes and a soup on the table, Alice took 1 bite of the sweet and sour pork. Her eyes went wide. Then she grabbed a second piece. A third. She didn't say a word, but her tail, the one she thought was hidden, started swaying behind the chair. The tip was drawing tiny circles in the air. Happy snake tail. Happy. Snake. Tail. Not to your taste? I asked, knowing exactly what the answer was. She glared at me for half a second. Then her chopsticks pivoted to the spicy chicken. Then the tofu. Then the oyster cakes. Her movements stayed elegant. She is royalty. But the speed increased dramatically. She was shoveling food in her royal mouth at a pace that said, dignity is temporary, flavor is forever. When she got to the soup, she forgot to be a queen entirely. just grabbed the bowl and started drinking. The steamed ribs made her eye twitch. The garlic and black bean sauce exploded on her tongue, and she had to fight visibly to maintain her poker face. It was like watching someone lose a war against deliciousness in real time. She demolished most of the table by herself. When she finally set down her chopsticks, she leaned back, hands folded over her slightly round belly, wearing an expression I can only describe as food drunk, eyes half closed. Mouth curved in a smile she didn't know she was making. Tail still swaying. "Do you always cook this much?" she asked lazily. "Of course. We have a guest," she hummed and closed her eyes. Content. Full. Defenseless. I sat across from her, staring at the empty plates, holding back the biggest wave of satisfaction I've ever felt. 16 years of cooking practice. Worth it. And then there was Mom. I looked over and saw her frozen mid-bite, chopsticks suspended in the air, a piece of tofu dangling, forgotten. She was staring at me with the most loaded expression I've ever seen on a human face. Because she'd just realized something. Her son, the one who'd spent his entire life training, fighting, serving the goddess, and taking care of her, was looking at this white-haired snake girl with an expression she'd only ever seen him use for family. And the white-haired snake girl had just eaten everything he cooked. All 6 dishes. The whole soup. All of it. And this snake girl was a descendant of the original serpent, the founder of the entire demon lord bloodline, the first ancestor of all Lamias. Mom's hand crept under the table and grabbed her sealing ring. The one that locks away her. I once made entire armies cry. Angel powers. Her knuckles went white. One little twist. One tiny pull. And she could go full seraph mode and remove this white-haired threat from existence. She side-eyed Alice, shoveling rice into her face, then looked at me looking at Alice with that expression, and I could practically hear the alarm bells going off in her head. There's a girl, a white-haired girl, in my house, eating my son's cooking, and he's looking at her like that. Code red. Code white hair. This is not a drill. "Mom," I said carefully, sensing the murderous energy. "Your food's getting cold." Her grip on the ring loosened. "Barely. It's good." She picked up a rib and chewed it very, very slowly. The chewing of a woman using jaw motion to regain sanity. Then, saved by the bell. 3 gentle knocks at the door. A temple servant stood outside, sweating nervously, explaining that the goddess had somehow failed to show up for my baptism, and he was so sorry, and if this delayed my hero career, they would literally die to make up for it. No, please don't. It's really fine." I grabbed his arms before he could bow himself into the floor. "This was my choice. Nothing to do with you or the temple. Please don't say anything about dying," he whispered. "May the goddess protect you," and tiptoed away like the ground was made of glass. Door closed. 2 seconds of silence. Ilias didn't show up to her own ceremony. Alice broke the quiet, voice dripping with satisfaction, and her followers are begging to die over it. What a merciful goddess indeed. Then she smirked, a real, gleeful cat that ate the canary smirk. She may have hurt me, but I gave her a good beating too. The great creator goddess probably has a swollen face right about now. Kukuku, that little laugh, kukuku, came from deep in her throat, pure mischievous delight. She'd punched God, and she was savoring every second of it. And here's where the magic happened. Mom heard that. Mom, the former angel who served that same goddess, who was tortured by that same goddess, who chose to die rather than serve that goddess again, heard Alice say she'd beaten Ilias's face in. Mom stood up, walked around the table, picked up Alice's empty bowl. "What a good child," she said warmly, looking at Alice with genuine affection. "Let me get you seconds." She went to the stove and carefully filled the bowl to the brim, hand-selecting the 2 most perfectly marbled pieces of rib and arranging them neatly on top. The care of a mother feeding a child she's decided to adopt. The enemy of my enemy gets extra ribs. Alice's big brain started churning. Wait, why is this human woman being nice to me? Why did she get warmer after hearing I punched the goddess? Then the overflowing bowl of food arrived in front of her face, and her stomach overrode her logic processor. Whatever. Eat first. Think later. I sat there quietly, chopsticks poking at my rice, watching the whole scene unfold. Mom accepted Alice. The reason was slightly unhinged. She punched the woman I hate. Therefore she's family now, but I'll take it. Because the alternative was Mom ripping off her seal ring and going full extinction-level angel mode in the dining room. Yeah, this outcome was much better than that one. After lunch, Alice was slumped in her chair like a snake that swallowed a whole deer. Belly slightly round, eyes half closed, tail tip doing lazy little curls of contentment. I peeked out from the kitchen and mentally gave myself a chef's kiss. 16 years of cooking training, validated. But food coma time was over. Time for the real conversation. I casually asked Mom when Dad was coming home. She said he'd gone to attend a baptism ceremony for an old teammate's daughter and should have been back already, but apparently massive storms were blocking all ships between the central continent and the Ilias continent. The instant she said, storms, Alice's eyes went wide and her face did something I can only describe as guilt loading at 100%. Storms. Shipping routes blocked. Alice crash landing from the sky earlier today after fighting the goddess. My brain connected those dots in half a second. She literally punched God so hard the weather broke, and now my dad is stuck on the wrong continent because of her divine fist fight. Thanks, future wife. Really appreciate that. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I walked to the kitchen storage cabinet and started pulling out everything. Iron wok, clay pot, spatula, cutting board, full knife set, spice rack, portable oil bottle, bag of flour, bag of rice, sealed jars of homemade sauces, and pickled vegetables. I'd been assembling this kit for years. I carried the whole mountain of cookware over to Alice and dumped it in her lap. She stared down at the wok and spatula in her arms like I'd just handed her a live fish. What are you doing? I looked her dead in the eyes and smiled my brightest, most shameless smile. Alice, you wouldn't want to go back to eating boring food after today's meal, right? Blink. You definitely have a way to carry all this, don't you? 2 seconds of silence. Then Alice lifted her chin with that trademark royal arrogance. But underneath it, I could see the gears turning. She'd just been fed the best meal of her entire life. And I was basically saying, come with me, and this happens every day. What a thoughtful servant, she started, then caught herself because Mom was right there, watching with her sweet smile. Alice choked midword, cleared her throat, and did an emergency vocabulary swap. Thoughtful. Travel companion. I was just about to invite you to travel with me. You should feel honored. Sure, Alice. You were definitely about to ask me. This was your idea. Totally. Then she pulled something from her waist. A tiny castle figurine, small enough to fit in your palm. This is the Pocket Demon Lord Castle. The what? A treasure passed down through generations of demon lords. It looks small, but inside it's as big as the entire demon lord's castle. It can even hold people. I turned the little thing over in my hands. Weighed almost nothing. Looked like it could barely hold a few candies. This wasn't in the game. At all. Was it from a different timeline? Or was this world just way bigger and more detailed than the game ever showed? The Demon Lord's castle looks like this? It's tiny. Try sticking your head inside. I'll pass. Thanks. I pointed the pocket castle at my pile of cookware and watched it inhale an entire iron wok, a spatula, a knife set, and a dozen jars of seasoning like it was nothing. I now owned a portable kitchen, a spatial pocket dimension kitchen. This was the greatest moment of both my lives. Are you leaving, Luca? Mom stood in the kitchen doorway, still holding a dish towel. Yeah. I swung my backpack over my shoulder and gave her the biggest grin I could manage. I'll be back before you know it. Back before I know it. She tilted her head, then reached up and ruffled my hair one more time. Your father said the same thing. Was gone for years. But you've always been like this. I opened my mouth to say something reassuring, but she pushed me back a step, gentle but firm, and leaned in close. Luca, you don't need everyone to like you. I froze. Take care of the people you care about. Everyone else, humans, monsters, even the goddess, don't worry about what they think of you. I stood there for a long moment. She'd seen everything. All my years of balancing everyone's expectations, keeping everyone happy, managing a goddess and an ant and a village and a destiny. And her final advice wasn't, be brave or stay safe. It was, stop trying to please everyone. Just protect the ones who matter. I know, Mom. Good. She stepped back, returned to her standard gentle loving mother setting, and nodded toward the door. Alice was leaning against the doorframe, tail swaying lazily. Done being mushy? Yeah? Let's go. She walked ahead. I waved to Mom one last time, then jogged to catch up with Alice's shadow stretching long across the sunny path. Some kids near the village entrance yelled at us. "Where are you going, Luca? To defeat the demon lord," I shouted without looking back. The actual demon lord walking beside me raised an eyebrow. Bold words for an unbaptized fake hero. Gee, I wonder why I didn't get baptized. Such a mystery. We walked in comfortable silence for a bit. Sun through the leaves. Light dancing on the mountain trail. Two figures, a boy and a disguised monster queen, heading off into the world. So Alice, where exactly are we traveling? Across every continent. Ending at the demon lord's castle. So our destination is literally the demon lord's castle. You realize the only reason heroes go there is to fight the demon lord, right? Funny coincidence, isn't it? Her voice was lazy, but her smile was sharp and playful. I want to see what kind of face that idiot who screamed about creating a world where humans and monsters coexist makes when he's standing in front of the demon lord. I slowed down and looked at her. Afternoon sunlight was painting golden edges on her profile. Silver hair, proud chin, that stubborn little smirk she probably doesn't know she's making. Then you'll have to walk with me for a very long time. Humph. I suppose I can tolerate it. We kept walking. Mountains rolling ahead. Clouds breaking apart after the storm she'd caused. And somewhere far, far away, the black spire of the demon lord's castle waiting for us. And back home, I'm sure Mom was standing in the doorway, clutching that dish towel she forgot to put down, watching us disappear around the bend. And knowing Mom, she was probably already scheming. I should figure out how to choose a wife for Luca. Maybe a martial arts tournament? Winner takes the boy. She closed the door, locking the sunshine out and all her plans in. My mother, the retired angel of mass destruction, was now entering her aggressive matchmaking. Our God help us all. And I mean that literally, because the actual God is also involved in my love life, and that's a sentence I never thought I'd say. So Alice and I hit the road, and I decided to play tour guide. Drew a little map in the dirt with a stick and everything. Okay, so there are 3 continents. Southeast is the Ilias continent, where we are now. In the middle is the central continent, where the 4 human kingdoms are. And up north is the Hell continent, where the demon lord's castle is. I explained the route. Head north to the biggest city on this continent, then to the port, then take a ship to the central continent. Pretty straightforward. Alice listened to the whole thing, rubbed her temples, and then went off. Ilias village, Ilias continent, Ilias temple, Iliasburg, Ilias port. She listed every single name with increasing disgust. City, continent, temple, port. It's all Ilias, Ilias, Ilias. How narcissistic can one goddess be? I mean, she's not wrong. The goddess literally named everything after herself. It's like if someone named their kid Steve and also named the dog Steve, the house Steve, the street Steve Street, and the whole country Stevenland. Maximum ego. You get used to it, I said, handing her my water bottle. She took a drink, handed it back, and then said something that made my brain freeze mid-step. I ate too many appetizers. Can't fit the main course now. What a shame. What main course? Pause. Then it clicked. Wait, am I the main course? You were going to eat me? This whole time I've just been a meal to you. I threw in some fake crying for dramatic effect. Really sold the betrayal. Alice blinked at my performance, then nodded with zero hesitation. That's about right. You catch on quick. Then her eyes did that thing again. That slow, deliberate scan from my collarbone, down my chest, past my waist, stopping right at my thighs. She was looking at me the way a food critic looks at a perfectly seared steak. 3rd time today some monster has eye-scanned me like a buffet menu. I'm starting to develop a complex. Okay, let's walk faster, shall we? I launched myself forward at maximum speed, ears burning so hot you could fry an egg on them. Behind me, I could feel her smirking. Her tail did a smug little circle on the ground. He's blushing already? What a small fry. I am not a small fry. I am a dignified warrior who has trained for 16 years. I just have a very reasonable reaction to being sexually threatened by a serpent monarch who could swallow me whole. That's normal. I stomped ahead until my ears cooled down, then slowed to let her catch up. The mountain trail was peaceful, pine smell, dappled sunlight, no one around. Then the bushes ahead rustled. Out slid a pretty lady in traditional clothing, hair pinned up perfectly, holding a fancy parasol. Very elegant from the waist up. From the waist down, she was a giant slug. Wet, glistening, soft slug body oozing along the dirt. My first thought wasn't battle. It was Does she have healing powers like that slug summoned from Naruto? My brain is broken. Oh my. A traveler, slug lady scanned me up and down, licked her lips. And not baptized either. What a delicious young man. 3. That is 3 different monsters today who have called me delicious. I am apparently the most appetizing human being on this continent. Someone should put my face on a cookbook. I glanced behind me. Alice. Gone. Vanished. Evaporated into thin air like she was never there. Classic original game behavior. Whenever a monster shows up, the demon lord just disappears to observe. Thanks for the backup, Your Majesty. Really feeling the travel companion energy. Fine. Solo time. I drew my sword so fast slug lady's eyes went wide. Clean horizontal slash aimed right at her body. My blade slid off. Her slug skin was covered in slime that worked like lubricant. The sword just glanced away like I tried to cut wet soap. She giggled, clearly used to this happening. But I'd already adapted. In the half-second the sword bounced. I read the viscosity, sheathed my blade, stepped forward, twisted my hips, and threw a spinning roundhouse kick directly into her slimy flank. Time for a little numerical surprise. The impact sounded like a cannon. Slug lady's eyes went dinner plate wide. Her parasol went flying. Her entire body went flying. Over the bushes, over a crooked tree, tracing a beautiful parabola across the sky before disappearing into the distant treetops. A flock of birds exploded out of the canopy in panic. I stood up straight, exhaled, and dusted off my clothes. 16 years of training from a legendary hero father and the most powerful angel in existence. You thought slimy skin would save you? I have legs, lady. Just as I expected, Alice materialized behind me like she'd been watching the whole time. Because she had been watching the whole time. Lazy voice, satisfied tone, like a teacher who just confirmed their student passed the test. She never helps. She just watches and grades. I have the world's most useless, most beautiful, most well-fed travel companion, and I wouldn't trade her for anything. So where'd you go back there? I asked, already knowing the answer but wanting to hear her excuse. Alice leaned against a tree, arms crossed, which created a situation. In the chest area, a very noticeable situation. I'm going to move on from this observation immediately. I have my position to consider, she said with fake dignity. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to interact with other monsters in that context. Translation: I'm the secret demon lord, and I can't blow my cover. Then she dropped the serious act and went right back to teasing. But you handled yourself well. Just know, if you ever lose to a monster girl because she seduced you, I won't save you. At most I'll feel sad about losing my chef and my main course, so I really am just food to you. Yes. Food. She nodded with complete sincerity. Not even a hint of a joke in her expression. So when you encounter other monster girls, if they grab you, break free. If they wrap around you, cut loose. Don't let them steal your mind. Is the demon lord giving me anti-monster girl dating advice? Is she telling me not to cheat on her? With food metaphors? I changed the subject. We're running into monsters way too often. Slime girl, slug lady. At this rate, there'll be another one around every corner. Maybe I should get baptized after all. Alice's footsteps stopped. What's so great about baptism? Her voice dropped several degrees. I see. I'll never understand you humans. You really love being Ilias's slaves that much? I started counting on my fingers. Well, baptized heroes get shop discounts, cheaper hotel rooms, and you can walk into anyone's house and search their stuff. Hold on. Alice raised a hand. Search people's houses? Is this a hero or a burglar? Oh my God. She's right. All those years of playing RPGs, walking into villagers' homes and opening their treasure chests, I was robbing people. Every player who ever played this game was committing breaking and entering. My entire gaming career was a crime spree. Anyway, I said, dragging the conversation back on track, the main benefit is that evil monsters won't come near me. About that? Alice drew out the words with a deeply amused expression. Baptized humans smell terrible to monsters. Smell? Apparently your body gets infused with the scent of angel liver. Extremely unappetizing. Angel liver? So now you understand. She gave me a sideways look dripping with mockery. You're going to attract monsters for a very long time, Mr. Hero Wonderful. I'm walking around as a 5-star meal with legs. Every monster on this continent can smell me like a fresh pizza delivery. And I can't get baptized because then I'd smell like organ meat and my travel companion would lose her appetite. My life. As afternoon melted into evening, the mountains turned orange and the birds went quiet. We walked and talked about nothing in particular, the comfortable kind of conversation where neither person is trying too hard. Then Alice stopped and said, almost casually, "Tonight, I want something sour-sweet." Something about the way she said it made me think she wasn't just talking about food. But I played it straight. "Actually, I have just the thing." I dug into my backpack and pulled out a little cloth bag. Aunt Michaela's salt-pickled plums. The ones she'd made specifically because Lucifina likes these. They were perfectly preserved, covered in a thin frost of salt, smelling tangy and sweet even through the fabric. I dropped them into Alice's palm, then whipped out my iron wok from the pocket castle and started making dinner. Sweet and sour pork, sliced loin, sugar vinegar sauce, flour and starch batter, into the hot oil. The meat curled at the edges, turned golden, developed that perfect amber crust. Alice sat behind me, silently eating plums, watching her, main course, prepare her, appetizer. The irony was not lost on either of us. After dinner, we sat by the dying campfire. Stars everywhere. Like someone spilled a diamond bag across black velvet. Then she surprised me. "Luca, let me teach you a sword technique." "Sword technique?" "A monster one. Demon sword. Beheading." She said it like commenting on the weather. Then added, "It suits you." "Why me?" "Because your biggest weakness is your build. You're slim, so head-on clashes with big enemies put you at a disadvantage." Her tail tip-tapped my shoulder, measuring my frame. "But flip that weakness around, and it becomes your strength. This technique is about using your small size to rush into the enemy's space and deliver a killing blow at zero distance." She told me the technique came from a dark elf swordsman named Zax who'd used it to take hundreds of heads. Legendary Monster World stuff. Then she drew a stick figure in the dirt and slashed a line across its chest. The universal language of, "This is where the head comes off. This is a secret art of the monster world. Want to learn?" I was already on my feet. Yes. For the next hour, that campfire clearing became a training ground. Her instruction was quiet but razor-sharp. Every pointer hit exactly the right spot. And I realized something important. This demon sword technique was different from everything Dad and Annie taught me. Hero techniques need hero blood. Angel techniques need angel blood. But monster techniques? They're race-neutral. Anyone can learn them. Which meant I could potentially combine all three styles into something nobody had ever seen before. Monster sword arts as the bridge between human and angel techniques. The possibilities made my brain spin. "That's enough for tonight," Alice said, tossing her stick into the embers. More would be pointless. She swung herself up into a tree with her tail, coiling around a thick branch, silver hair dangling down. Standard snake sleeping position, apparently. I reached into the pocket castle and pulled out a tent, then a rolled-up futon, then another rolled-up futon. Laid them both out neatly. I looked up at the moonlit snake queen perched in her tree. "Alice, I brought a tent and 2 futons." She glanced down, visibly surprised. Point 2. "Yep. 2. Want to join me?" "Smooth, Luca. Real smooth." Offering the demon lord a sleepover on day 1 of the journey. In my defense, I packed those 2 futons 16 years ago. I have been preparing for this exact moment since I was 6 years old. No regrets. Her eyes lit up in the dark. Just for a second. A tiny flash of, "Oh, he actually thought of me," before she buried it under her usual royal attitude. "How thoughtful of you, my cute servant." She unwound from the tree like liquid moonlight and slid into the tent. I took the outside position. If anything attacks at night, it hits me first. She got the inner spot. A strip of moonlight drew a line between our futons like the world's most romantic no-man's land. I stared at the tent ceiling. Might as well get some answers while we're here. "Alice, why did you choose to travel with me?" Rustling, her tail shifting on the blanket. "Then, I'm the only daughter of the prestigious Alice F's family in the monster world. I just came out to see the world. Just recently, actually." I smiled in the darkness. She is so bad at making up cover stories. The prestigious Alice F's family. That's literally the demon lord's family name. Anyone with basic monster knowledge would recognize it instantly. That's like trying to go undercover as John, totally not the president. I didn't call her out. "Really?" I said in my most serious voice. "You're not like A spy sent to study humans and destroy us all when the time is right. Cuckoo. She laughed, pleased by that guess. Then I heard her fumbling with something. You're hungry again? We literally just ate. Idiot. What kind of image do you have of me? Her voice cracked with genuine offense. This is a forbidden book containing intelligence on all of humanity's weaknesses. We monsters have studied your kind through this text. Forbidden book? Juicy. I squinted in the darkness. Thank you. Angel Bloodline Night Vision, and read the cover. Oh, it's a travel guide. Her hand froze midair. Publication date. Old calendar year 876. I kept reading the fine print. That isn't this the one the great hero Heinrich brought to the monster continent 500 years ago? Huh? Alice's voice wobbled. How do you know Heinrich had this? Well, it is a bit old, I suppose. A bit old? This belongs in a museum. These long-lived species have absolutely broken time perception. 5 centuries, and she's calling it a little outdated. That's like using a medieval map to find a Starbucks. I yawned. Today had been approximately 7 lifetimes worth of events crammed into one day. Anyway, let's sleep. Good night, Alice. Her voice softened so fast it caught me off guard. Like a stone dropping into still water, gone before you could see the ripple. Good night. I was unconscious in seconds. Then the dream came. Soft. Holy. Ilias's voice floating down from heaven like a silk ribbon. Luca, even though you didn't receive the baptism, you have always been blessed by me. Don't be discouraged. Oh great, the divine bedtime broadcast. My Luca, my blessed hero, I will always watch over you. You must kill all monsters. Then her voice just cut off. Like someone pulled the plug again. I woke up to birdsong and golden light leaking through the tent. Stared at the canvas for a few seconds, processing. If I hadn't played the game in my past life, that dream would have worked perfectly. No baptism, and she still came to comfort me personally. Any normal village kid would have been moved to tears. Would have dedicated his entire life to her right then and there. But I know what she really is, and she knows what I really want. We're two people who will never agree, no matter how much sweetness she wraps around the poison. I sighed and started making breakfast. When the porridge started bubbling, Alice emerged from the tent like a sleepy snake, literally. Tail gleaming in the morning sun, eyes barely open. She parked herself by the fire and waited for food. I handed her a bowl. We ate in comfortable silence. Then I knelt by the campfire for my morning prayer. You really enjoy doing pointless things, Alice said, watching me with maximum disdain, tail swishing lazily. It's one of the 5 commandments. Thou shalt not neglect prayer to God. Ilias hates monsters more than anything. That directly contradicts your dream of coexistence, doesn't it? She got closer and closer. I opened my eyes and she was standing right over me, looking down with those golden eyes. If you truly want humans and monsters to live together, why do you still worship Ilias? This isn't just strange anymore. She leaned forward. Silver hair slid off her shoulder and almost brushed my face. I could smell snow cedar and flowers. Did you know? Her voice dropped low, almost a whisper. Monsters can only reproduce with human males. Almost no male monsters exist. If humans don't mate with monsters, monsters go extinct. She let that hang in the air. Thou shalt not copulate with monsters. That's also one of the 5 commandments. Funny how that works, isn't it? I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. She was right. That commandment was basically a genocide order disguised as a moral rule. By forbidding humans from having children with monsters, the goddess was engineering a slow extinction, forcing monster girls to resort to forceful methods with unwilling men just to survive as a species. I wanted to argue, but there was nothing to argue with. Some truths are too big for words. Alice watched me struggle. Then after a moment, her tail reached over and gently patted my head, like comforting a confused puppy. You're an idiot when it comes to Ilias. She straightened up, rebuilt her queenly posture, but her voice had gone soft. But I have my own problems too. Now hurry up. If we're late, we'll miss the specialty food in Iliasburg. Apparently they make these dumplings with tons of happiness honey, and they're supposedly famous that it's always food with you. Let's go. That information is 500 years old, I said with maximum smugness. Those dumplings are probably long gone. Critical hit. What? Alice spun around, eyes huge, royal composure shattered by genuine panic. It's only been 500 years. They'll definitely still be there. 500 years. Only, she said, only. This woman considers half a millennium a minor inconvenience. If I told her the restaurant changed its menu last Tuesday, she'd say, already? She started speed walking toward the city, tail dragging an urgent line in the dirt. I jogged after her, laughing. Slow down. They'll be there, probably. You just said they probably wouldn't. I said probably. Not definitely. Humph. Smooth talker. Morning light poured through the canopy. 2 sets of footsteps, one human, one serpentine, echoed down the mountain path toward the city, accompanied by bickering that neither of us wanted to stop. Before we could enter the city, I had to address the elephant in the room. Or rather, the giant snake tail in the room. Alice, can you turn into a human? Otherwise you'll scare every shopkeeper in town. She grumbled, but closed her eyes. Red light crawled up her scales like a lit fuse, and her tail started splitting, shrinking, reshaping. Scales melted into skin. One tail became 2 legs, and suddenly she was wearing purple knee-high boots and a dark skirt that materialized out of pure magic fashion sense. The whole thing took like 3 breaths. Casual shape-shifting. No big deal. Just the demon lord casually generating a new pair of legs and matching footwear from scratch. She looked down at herself, lifted one boot to inspect it, and nodded with satisfaction. Good enough? I looked at her standing there in the sunset, silver hair glowing gold at the edges, pale skin soft in the fading light, those proud golden eyes now framed by an entirely human silhouette, and my brain forgot to work for a second. What are you staring at? She huffed and looked away, but there was zero actual anger in it. Nothing. Just, you look really pretty in human form too. She didn't respond. She just walked past me toward the city gates. But her boots were clicking the stone very fast. Faster than normal. Definitely not flustered. Nope. Then we entered Iliasburg, and the mood completely changed. The streets were empty. No merchants, no travelers, no kids playing. Every door was shut. Windows dark. Occasionally someone would peek out from a second-floor window and immediately yank their head back inside, like they'd seen a ghost. Something was very, very wrong. I closed my eyes and felt it. A massive wave of monster energy pressing down on the entire city like a hot iron. But this wasn't chaotic or evil feeling. It was pure, ordered, like a sword heated until it glowed red. Dangerous, yes, but with an almost sacred precision. I knew exactly who this was. Grambiria, one of the 4 heavenly knights of the Demon Lord's army, the most talented swordsman in the entire monster world. A dragon woman whose combat legends had become actual nightmares for every warrior alive. I looked back at Alice. She'd already melted into a wall shadow, arms crossed, completely unbothered. Go, she said. 2 words, like telling me to pick up groceries. I ran toward the city center. The closer I got, the hotter the air became. Past abandoned market stalls, scattered goods, empty streets, until I reached the main square and saw exactly what I expected. 1 person standing, dozens on the ground, green skin, hair redder than fire, a dragon tail slamming the ground, light armor, a massive sword that was still radiating heat like it had just been pulled from a forge, and scattered around her, maybe 40 or 50 swordsmen, all groaning, all defeated. But, and this was important, all of them were breathing, chests rising and falling. Painful moaning, yes. Death rattles, no? She'd beaten them all without killing a single one. How disappointing. Is there not a single worthy fighter in this city? Granbiria's voice boomed across the square. She stood there scanning the destruction she'd caused with the calm expression of someone who'd ordered a meal and gotten the wrong dish. Not angry, not cruel, just unimpressed. 3 swordsmen were still standing. Barely. Their legs were shaking so hard I could see it from across the square. Their swords wobbled in the air like drunk compass needles. Well, are you going to attack or not? She wasn't threatening them. She was genuinely asking. What's your decision? That was it. No malice. Just a question from someone who respected the answer either way. And this was what I'd been wanting to see. Not politics. Not divine conspiracies. Not goddess manipulation schemes. Just pure, honest, warrior-to-warrior combat. Sword against sword. Will against will. The simplest, cleanest form of conflict. My inner battle junkie was screaming with excitement. 2 of the 3 swordsmen roared and charged her. Brave. Stupid, but brave. Their blades caught the sunset in 2 desperate arcs of light. The 3rd guy? turned white as paper, waited until his friends charged, and then crawled away on all fours into an alley. Smart. Cowardly, but smart. Admirable courage, Grambiria said, watching the two charge at her. Then her voice went cold. But courage without strength is meaningless, her sword erupted. Actual flames, living, writhing, roaring fire wrapped around the blade like a serpent. The heat wave hit the square like opening an oven door. Leaves on nearby trees curled up and died instantly. Water in the air became steam. The whole plaza turned into a sauna of doom. My eyes went wide. Not from fear. From excitement. The four heavenly knights each master one element. Grambiria's is fire, the purest, hottest, most aggressive fire. And watching her wield, it was like watching a master artist paint with explosions. She vanished. Literally vanished from in front of two men mid-charge. Their faces hadn't even finished forming their shock expressions when she reappeared behind them. She didn't use the blade. She slapped them on the back of their necks with the flat of her sword. Precise. Measured. Just enough force to knock them out, not enough to break anything. They crumpled, eyes rolling back, joining the pile of unconscious but alive warriors on the ground. As for the guy who ran, she looked at the empty alley, sheathed her sword, and said, "Wise choice. But from today forward, the honor of warrior and hero alike is lost to you." Then she raised her head and roared at the whole city. "There's not a single decent fighter in this place. If that's the case, don't complain when the monster army—" Wait, that was me. I walked into the square. Sunset at my back. Purple hair doing its thing. Blue eyes locked on the dragon warrior. No magical aura. No glowing wings. No divine power signature. Just a kid in regular hero clothes with a regular-looking sword. The most ordinary-looking challenger imaginable. Grambiria stopped mid-roar and looked at me. I drew my sword. "My name is Luca, future great hero. And I challenge you." Now that's the normal relationship between a hero and a monster. No manipulation. No schemes. No divine puppetry. Just, "Hello, I'm going to try to fight you now." Finally. Something straightforward in this ridiculous world. The sunset turned the whole square blood red, which was honestly perfect dramatic lighting for what was about to happen. I gripped my sword. She gripped hers. Two fighters staring each other down across a square full of unconscious bodies. The most classic setup in the history of fighting, and I was living for it. I channeled power into my blade until it caught fire. The heat traveled up the handle and burned my palm, and I didn't care. I was grinning. Dragon flame heaven flash. I stomped so hard the stone cracked under my foot and launched myself at her flank. Burning sword screaming through the air, heat waves distorting everything between us into a shimmering curtain of fire. Well done. Grambiria didn't even blink. That massive sword, a weapon that should have needed two hands and a forklift, spun in her grip like a twig. She flicked it upward to meet my blade. Clang. The collision detonated across the square like a bomb. Sparks erupted everywhere, a cloud of fireflies made of pure violence. Our blades locked. Fire wrestled fire. Force pushed against force. We both stepped back. Even. Round one tie. Something lit up behind her eyes. Interest. Real interest. The kind a swordsman shows when they realize they're not fighting a punching bag anymore. "Interesting boy," she said it slowly, deliberately, tightened her grip. Then she stopped holding back. Her sword erupted. Not just flames, a tsunami of fire. The blaze climbed the blade, swirled into a ball at the tip, and she launched herself at me like a burning meteor. The stone under her feet didn't just crack, it turned to powder. Her sword came down like a mountain falling on my head. The ground was already scorching before the blade arrived. I didn't run. Dad's voice in my head, "Stay calm." Auntie's training in my muscles, "Redirect, don't resist." I tilted my sword at an angle and caught her blade, not head-on, but sideways, like a willow leaf sliding against a waterfall. My sword guided her monstrous power 3 inches to the side. 3 inches. That's all I needed. Her burning blade screamed past my shoulder, close enough to singe my sleeve and leave the smell of burned fabric in my nose. And in that same motion, I leaned back. Looked like I was falling, but I was loading a spring. My body snapped forward. Right leg whipped out in a kick aimed at her stomach. Perfect angle. Perfect timing. One of Auntie Michaela's signature counter techniques, drilled into me 1,000 times on that moonlit hillside. But Granbiria's reflexes were inhuman. Her left arm twisted at an angle that would have dislocated a human elbow, and her forearm clamped down on my shin like an iron vise. Nice reaction. You too. I shook my leg free with a twist that would have made an eel proud, slipped out of her grip, and landed 3 steps back. Reset. Brief silence. The people hiding behind windows forgot to breathe. The unconscious swordsman on the ground forgot their pain. Everyone was watching. Then we both moved. She attacked first. 3 blazing sword waves fired at me in a triangle formation, each one hot enough to melt steel, trailing fire like serpents. And behind them, SHE was coming, sword overhead, a literal fire tornado forming around the blade. My response surprised everyone, including me, honestly. I ran toward them. Sword tip tapped the first wave sideways, redirected into the sky. Spin. Second wave grazed past my hip, only caught my shirt. The third wave came hardest. I swung upward and split it into a shower of sparks. 3 moves, 3 breaths, 1 continuous dance. That was Dad's teaching. Move less, accomplish more. Use the enemy's force against them. I was already behind her. Reverse grip. Blade aimed at her heart. Clank. She blocked with her pommel at the absolute last millisecond. The impact rang out like a bell. She was smiling. For the first time. A real smile. The joy of meeting an equal. Too naive. Her wrist flipped. The entire massive sword rotated on its axis, and the burning blade swept at my waist with 0 blind spots. Nowhere to dodge. I had to block. Our swords crashed together, and my arm went numb. Pure strength contest, and she had me beat. I skidded backward, arm tingling, shoes scraping stone. But I was smiling too, even bigger than before. Ha 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 ha. My laughter echoed across the entire square. Pure, unfiltered, childlike joy. This was what I'd been training for. This was what swordsmanship was supposed to feel like. Again, more. I attacked. Not defensive anymore, full offense. My body became a blur, my sword a web of light. Sometimes rapid fire, Dad style, throwing myself into danger, fighting like every breath might be the last, hitting the weak points of her guard. Sometimes surgical precision, anti-style, 0 wasted movement, every slash targeting a vital point. And then, hidden in a turning step, a third style emerged. The trajectory shifted. Older, wilder, no fixed pattern, following the flow of life itself. A predator's instinct compressed into a single slash aimed at her throat. Demon's sword, beheading. Alice's technique. Learned last night. Granbiria's expression finally dropped, all pretense. Full focus. Total concentration. She blocked and stared at me through our crossed blades. Who taught you the sword? Some from my dad. Some from my aunt. And 1 move I just learned yesterday. But we're not done yet. Keep going. We fought from the square to the waterway. From the waterway to the city gates. Fire lit up the entire district. People watching from upstairs windows went from terrified to curious to jaw on the floor, silently cheering for the crazy purple-haired kid. And the whole time, the entire fight, I was laughing, cackling like a maniac, like a kid who finally found the toy he'd been looking for his whole life. Every time she hit me, I came back harder. Every time she blocked me, I got more excited. I was covered in cuts and burns and bruises, and I couldn't have cared less. Ha 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 again. More. This is amazing, Granbiria. I'll remember you for the rest of my life? Apparently, and I didn't know this at the time, my fighting style when I get excited looks exactly like Mom's. Back in the day, when 3 of the 6 ancestors ganged up on Lucifina, she went absolutely berserk. Laughing through blood, trading blow for blow, fighting like a rabid angel, until Auntie Michaela arrived as backup. The old-timers in the monster world still have nightmares about it. Like mother, like son. The crazy is genetic. Granbiria watched me, battered, bleeding, grinning like a lunatic. And for the first time, something shifted behind those ancient dragon eyes. Respect? Recognition? Whatever it was, she raised her sword and the fire stopped being wild. It contracted, condensed, formed a white-hot ring of flames spinning around her blade. The feeling is mutual, she said, voice deep as a war drum. Then, the next strike decides it. She inhaled. Her chest rumbled like an ancient dragon breathing. Chaos edge, blazing fury. I raised my own sword. Angel power flooded into the blade. Light began building, golden and fierce. Ninefold Rakshasa. The square went silent. Even the wind stopped. Two ultimate techniques. One final clash. Everything we had, compressed into a single moment. Both lifetimes of mine had been building to fights like this, and I wouldn't trade this feeling for anything in any world. Right as my ultimate technique was about to collide with Granberia's ultimate technique, two world-ending attacks on a collision course that would have probably deleted this entire city block from existence. You two idiots? Are you trying to destroy this place? A silver-white missile inserted itself between us. Alice's tail lashed out like a whip, snagged me around the waist midair, and yanked me out of my attack like a mother cat grabbing a kitten by the scruff. My carefully charged technique shattered. My momentum died. I dangled there in her coils like the world's most embarrassed action figure. At the same time, her right hand fired a blast of dark purple energy at Granberia, Demon Lord's tyranny, that ripped through the air and cratered the stone pavement next to the Dragon Knight. Deliberately missed. A warning shot that said, I could have hit you. I chose not to. Think about that. Granberia's fire was snuffed out instantly. She stumbled back 2 steps, jammed her sword into the ground for balance, and looked up to see who had just casually swatted aside 2 ultimate techniques like mosquitoes. Then she saw Alice's face. Her real face. Horns out. Tail out. Full Demon Lord mode. The color drained from Granberia's expression. Her mouth moved, but nothing came out for a full second. Then her sword clanged into the ground, and she dropped to one knee so fast her kneecap cracked the broken stone. Zero hesitation. The warrior who'd just soloed an entire city's defense force was now kneeling with her head bowed, not daring to look up. Cough, cough. I mean, we were having a really good fight. I mumbled from inside Alice's tail, which was wrapped several notches tighter than usual. Her scales were transmitting a very clear message through my ribcage. You are in trouble. I peeked around at the destruction. Scorched trees. Melted pavement. A fountain statue missing its top half. The city gate was one sword swing away from being bisected. We'd basically remodeled the entire district with fire and violence. And somewhere in this city was a shop that sold those happiness honey dumplings Alice wanted. If Granberia and I had destroyed that shop, I would never forgive myself. Judging by Alice's expression, SHE would never forgive me either. Our priorities were perfectly aligned, just not in a way that made us look like responsible adults. Granberia, what are you doing here? Who ordered this attack? Alice's voice was ice. Not angry ice. Queen ice. The kind of cold that doesn't need to raise its volume because everyone already knows they're about to regret their life choices. This was my personal judgment. To eliminate the annoying heroes once and for all, I planned to target the Ilia's temple. Stand down. 2 words. Granberia's mouth slammed shut mid-sentence. But, the Dragon Knight raised her head, eyes burning with protest. We can't just let the heroes, I said, stand down. Did you not hear me? Alice's tail smacked the ground. Rocks jumped. Keep this up and the specialty dumpling shop will be destroyed. Granberia's face went through about 5 emotions in 2 seconds. Confusion. Bewilderment. A heroic attempt to connect, military campaign, to dumplings, through some kind of logical bridge. She failed. That we could just have someone make them after we conquer the city. And where's the tourism experience in that, you moron? Alice's tail whipped the ground again. Or do you need me to say the same thing 3 times before it registers? I said, stand down. The Demon Lord's military priorities. Step 1, secure dumplings. Step 2, everything else. Granberia stood up slowly, pulled her sword from the ground. No more arguments. No more protests. She'd come alone to attack an entire city because she was that confident. And she was leaving alone because her queen told her to, and that was enough. As you command. Your will is sufficient. I take my leave. She vanished into the evening shadows. Just like that. One of the 4 most powerful monsters in the world. Gone because she was told the dumplings were more important than the invasion. Alice's tail finally lowered me to the ground. I dusted myself off and looked at her with my most innocent smile. Being able to order one of the 4 heavenly knights to retreat. Alice, you really are. She turned away. Just slightly. Her horns shifted angle so the shadow covered half her face. Classic. I know you're about to figure it out. Body language. Truly amazing. Dead silence. Her eyebrow twitched. She slowly turned back toward me with an expression of pure disgust. That's it? That's all you're going to say? You're just going to yindy it there? Are you an actual idiot? I grinned at her. I think something like this is better when you choose to tell me, instead of me forcing the reveal. You're curious about that power I was about to use, right? Well, I'm curious about your real identity too. So let's wait. One day, we'll trade secrets on our own terms. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then she tilted her chin up, and that smirk came back. The real one. The one that means she's genuinely pleased but would rather die than admit it. Fair enough. Then I'll be waiting for you to bare your heart and pledge your loyalty, my cute little servant. Her tail started doing its happy circles again, tip-tapping the broken stones with a rhythm that said, I won this round, and we both know it. We stood there in a half-destroyed city square, surrounded by unconscious swordsmen and cratered pavement, having just narrowly avoided leveling an entire block, and our biggest concern was whether the dumpling shop survived. I think we're going to be fine. The moment Granburia disappeared, the city came back to life, like someone hit the unpause button on reality. First one window opened, then another, then 10 more. People started poking their heads out like meerkats checking for predators, realized the coast was clear, and suddenly the streets were full again. Merchants crawled out from under their market stalls. Kids peeked from behind their mothers' skirts. The beaten-up swordsmen got hauled to their feet by friends. That boy and that woman. They drove off the monster. Wait, isn't that woman also a monster? Shut it. She helped save us. She's a hero. That last one was an old man who slammed his cane on the ground so hard the gossipers flinched into silence. Love that guy. People swarmed around us with thank yous and handshakes. Most of them managed to look past Alice's horns and snake tail, which honestly impressed me. One round lady was chasing her son, one of the knocked-out swordsmen, while yanking his ear and yelling, "Look at him. He's your age, and he fought a heavenly knight. What's your excuse?" OW. That was a 4 heavenly knight. I'm lucky to be alive. Don't talk back to me. Alice watched this scene with her tail tip swaying gently. A mother yelling at her grown son in public. Normal human warmth. Completely alien to her world. I bowed to the crowd and apologized for all the property damage. Half the square was cratered and on fire because of me and Granburia. The locals waved it off. You saved us. We'll fix it ourselves. Our lives matter more than some pavement, which was very kind of them considering I'd personally helped destroy a fountain, scorch several trees, and nearly bisect the city gate. Then Alice pointed at a random bystander with sniper precision. You? Background character 1. I have a question. The guy looked around, confirmed the finger was aimed at him, and puffed up his chest with bizarre pride. Background character 1? I have a real name. It's background character A. I have zero interest in your identity. Alice's voice could have frozen lava. Where is the Sutherland Inn? He told her. West Street. Old establishment. Can't miss it. Alice spun toward me, eyes sparkling for the first time since I'd met her. Did you hear that, Luca? It's still there. 500 years, and the dumpling shop survived. The woman's relief was practically visible. We walked toward it through streets that were already being repaired. People sweeping rubble, hauling wood, ringing signs. The city was healing itself in real time. And here's the thing. People looked at Alice. At her horns. Her tail. Her inhuman golden eyes. But nobody shouted. Nobody ran. Nobody called for guards. They just watched a monster girl help save their city. That was enough. The Sutherland Inn was absolutely not what I expected. 3 stories of polished marble. Massive golden sign. Palace lanterns glowing warm amber. Carved pillars with vine patterns. Wind chimes tinkling in the evening breeze. This wasn't an inn. This was a 5-star luxury resort that somehow existed in a medieval fantasy world. Then I saw the price list. 2,400,000 PR person PR night. My voice cracked so hard it probably registered on some kind of geological instrument. That amount of money could feed a regular family for an entire year. I felt my wallet physically tremble at my hip. I slapped my hand over it like it was trying to escape. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. Please let me in. I'm a hero. What's the hero discount? I turned around. It was that guy, the swordsman who abandoned his friends and ran from Granburia. He was at the front desk, waving his arms, trying to charm his way into a discount. Get out. The innkeeper exploded from behind the counter. She was a 50-ish woman built like a tank, hair immaculate, radiating an aura of pure motherly fury. A coward who ran from a monster calls himself a hero? You want a hero discount? I should throw you out the window instead. The only reason I'm not is because your ancestors must have done something right. He ran. Again, faster than when he fled from Granburia. This woman was scarier than a heavenly knight. The innkeeper dusted off her hands, turned around, saw Alice and me, and her face transformed from wrathful god to sweet grandmother in 0.2 seconds. Oh my, aren't you two the saviors of our city? Hero discount for both of you. 4 coins total. Please, come right in. The emotional whiplash from watching this woman could give you neck injuries. Alice actually nodded approvingly. You're a decent human. High praise from the demon lord. The innkeeper should put that on a plaque. Alice grabbed my arm and dragged me inside. The interior was even more absurd. Cathedral ceiling, crystal chandelier, polished dark hardwood floors, spiral staircase with carved railings. I felt underdressed just breathing in there. The innkeeper personally brought out 7 or 8 dishes. Beautiful presentation. Wonderful smells. Alice tried the grilled fish. Tasted the soup. Face, unchanged. Unchanged. Still unchanged. Then the last plate arrived. Golden dumplings glazed in glistening honey. The legendary happiness honey sweet dumplings. 500 years of anticipation. Alice's eyes lit up like someone plugged her into a power outlet. She devoured them. Everything else on the table? Barely touched. She picked at the other dishes with visible disinterest, then leaned back with an expression I can only describe as food disappointment, and I realized what had happened. I'd ruined her. My cooking. My 16 years of culinary training. The 6-dish feast I'd made at home. I had set the bar so astronomically high that this 5-star hotel's professional chef, supposedly the best on the entire Ilias continent, tasted like cafeteria food to her now. I accidentally turned the demon lord into a food snob. With MY cooking, I felt proud and guilty at the same time. The innkeeper came back to check on us. How's everything? Satisfied with our hospitality. The regular dishes were mediocre, Alice said with devastating casual honesty. But the honey dumplings were good. The innkeeper's smile froze for exactly 2 milliseconds. She recovered like a champ. Our chef is the most famous on the continent. You must be very well traveled. But I could see the tiny crack in her pride. Sorry, ma'am. Blame me and my walk. Then the innkeeper sighed. Unfortunately, we've been running low on happiness honey lately. We used to make the dumplings in bulk. There it is. The classic RPG quest hook. The innkeeper has a problem. The resource is scarce. The hero is sitting right there with a sword on his hip. I glanced down at my weapon and mentally prepared myself for tomorrow morning's inevitable fetch quest. Some things are universal across all worlds. The hero never gets to rest. Happiness Village. Honey Quest. Classic RPG fetch mission. The innkeeper suggested we check it out since the honey supply's been low, and honestly I was going to go anyway because... reasons. Game knowledge reasons. Well then, good night you two. Rest up. The innkeeper left the room key and closed the door with a soft click. Alice turned to say something, then stopped. Her eyes landed on my body and I realized. Oh right, I look like I lost a fight with a lawnmower. Sword cuts everywhere. Bruises and colors I didn't know skin could turn. My clothes were basically decorative ribbons at this point. Hold still. Let me heal. She started, gathering magic in her hands. Then she froze, because I was already glowing. I closed my eyes, steadied my breathing, and let the meditation healing kick in. Warm golden light wrapped around me like a blanket. The cut sealed up. The bruises faded. Skin smoothed over. A few breaths and I was good as new. Alice stared. Her tail went completely still, which I'd learned meant genuine surprise. Where did you learn that? Meditation. My aunt taught me. Convert energy into healing through breathing. Nothing fancy, but useful on the road. She kept staring. I'm starting to think I impress her more than she's comfortable with. I looked down at my shredded outfit and sighed. Well, the body's fixed, but these clothes are done. Let me go change. A tail slammed down in front of me like a roadblock. Don't bother changing. They're already torn. Just rip them off. Excuse me? Alice looked at me with those golden eyes. Something behind them was different. A glimmer of mischief. Of hunger. But not the food kind. I'm still not full, you know? She licked her lips. That quick, dangerous little motion I'd seen before. Now, my voice jumped half an octave. I remembered this part from the game. There was a mandatory scene here that the player couldn't skip. A mandatory, unskippable scene. I took a deep breath. Tried to sound cool. As a man, I should at least be the one taking the lead. I was on my back before I finished the sentence. Silver hair curtaining my face. Snow cedar perfume. Her tail coiled around my waist, pinning me to the mattress with the gentle firmness of someone who knows exactly how much pressure to use. Luca, defeated. This is special training, she said, voice low and silky. To build your resistance against monster girl seduction. Can't have you falling to some random encounter on the road, can we? This is my first time doing something like this. Feel honored, my dear travel companion. Fun fact about Alice's ancestry. The first ancestor of all demon lords was created by combining the traits of every living creature in existence, which means Alice inherited the biological knowledge of essentially all life forms on the planet. So even the most basic version of her techniques was on a completely different level from anything a normal monster could do. My memory cuts out somewhere around her satisfied smile hovering above me. Am I going to survive this journey? The next morning, I walked out of the room and my legs were still made of jelly. You two had fun last night. Critical hit. Direct impact. Zero defense. I locked up on the staircase like a robot with a dead battery. The innkeeper was behind her counter doing paperwork. She didn't even look up. Said it like commenting on the weather. My neck creaked as I slowly, mechanically turned toward her. Was it loud? She finally looked up, pushed her glasses up her nose. Those experienced eyes blinked once, and her mouth curved into the most evil grandma smirk I've ever seen. Oh my, so it was that kind of situation. I was just guessing. She bluffed me. She said it on purpose to see my reaction, and I walked right into it. I have never wanted to dig a hole and bury myself more in either of my two lives. The innkeeper just sat there, smiling, watching me die inside, savoring every microsecond of my suffering. Alice walked out of the room, looking completely unbothered, tail swaying, posture perfect. She even gave the innkeeper a polite little goodbye nod, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just, anyway. We left the inn. Morning sunlight on silver hair, cool breeze. Her face was back to its default setting of regal ice queen who is above all earthly matters. This lasted about half a block. Cuckoo. As expected of a fake hero, she broke into the most gleeful, most vindictive, most insufferable laugh. Eyes crinkling with pure evil joy. Can't even dodge a monster girl's attack. That feeble resistance was practically an invitation. How shameful. I walked beside her in silence, staring straight ahead, ears burning like twin furnaces. 2 lifetimes. Zero experience with women in both of them. And my first time was with the demon lord, who then spent the entire next morning roasting me about my performance. This is my life now. I cook her food. I write poetry for her rival. I fight legendary warriors. And I get bullied about my bedroom skills before breakfast. Wouldn't change a single thing. We were leaving the city when we got ambushed at the gate. Not by a monster, by a fangirl. Standing at the city entrance, upside down in a headstand with her hands pressed together like she was praying, was the weirdest creature I'd seen yet. Snake body on top, human legs. On the bottom, like someone assembled a monster kit backwards and said, "Good enough." She was wearing basically just underwear on her human half, and her eyes were literally sparkling with hearts. Wait, she shrieked before I could even open my mouth. My name is Amira. You've stolen my heart. I'm a maiden in love. My eye twitched. I looked behind me. The cabbage lady was haggling with a customer. The construction worker was whistling while mixing cement. Nobody was panicking about the upside-down snake lady at the gate. Oh, she lives here. That explains why the townspeople accepted Alice so quickly. They've been living next to this for who knows how long. Alice barely registers on the weird scale by comparison. You gave me courage and shy feelings of love. If this is a dream, I never want to wake up. Amira cupped her cheeks and wiggled her snake body, practically shooting pink heart bubbles from her eyes. Get to the point. Alice's tail slapped the ground. Rocks bounced. EK. Amira went rigid as a board, sweat pouring down her face. Then she inhaled and unleashed every remaining word at a speed that would make a rap god jealous. There's a dragon and vampire treasure thief gang in the northwest. I can't stop them, please, in Robai. She was gone before the sentence ended. Nothing left but a dust cloud and a few spinning leaves. Right, I rubbed my temples. I guess we're going there too. Why? Alice crossed her arms. It's not your problem. Just go north, get on a ship, and leave this Ilias named everything continent. I'm a hero, remember? Plus, if we detour east to Happiness Village first, handle the honey problem, then swing northwest to the mountains, we can loop back and visit my aunt on the way. Efficient tourism. You're remarkably carefree about this. She stopped arguing, though. She's learning that I'm going to help everyone regardless of whether it makes logistical sense. Hero brain. Can't turn it off. We walked the morning road toward Happiness Village. Dew on the grass. Birds chattering. Mountains peeking through morning fog. Peaceful. Then Alice asked me something unexpected. Do you enjoy fighting that much? What makes you ask? When you fought Grambiria, her voice was lazy but her eyes were serious. You were smiling the whole time. I actually feel a little guilty for interrupting your final clash. I looked up at the sky. Fluffy clouds shaped like escaped sheep. Honestly, yeah, it felt amazing. No point lying. Something about going all out against someone that strong. It just felt right. What kind of battle maniac bloodline did you inherit? She smirked. Well, if that's what you want, you can use this. She reached into the pocket castle and pulled out a sword. I immediately wished she hadn't. The blade was covered in tiny carved angel sculptures, but they were all screaming, writhing, wings broken, bodies twisted into impossible agonized poses. It looked like someone trapped a choir of angels in metal and hit, blend. The thing radiated wrongness like a portable nightmare. This is the fallen angel's sword, Gorg. Only one in the entire world. She presented it like she was showing me a dessert menu. See? Those are your beloved angels on there. That thing is a sanity damage artifact. I stepped backward involuntarily. Don't judge by appearances. Alice was enjoying my horror. Tail tip-tapping happily. It's infused with high-concentration holy element that can devolve monsters back into their primitive beast forms. No more worrying about hurting someone who looks human. You can fight at full power with zero guilt. She held it toward me. Dark purple light reflected off the blade onto my face. I looked at it. Really looked at it. Devolve monsters into beasts. Strip away their intelligence, their personalities, their selves. Turn them from people into animals, just so I could fight without feeling bad about it. It is a good sword, I said calmly. Then I tilted my entire body backward at a 45-degree angle, pointed one finger straight at the sky, planted my other hand on my hip, and struck the most dramatic anime pose of either lifetime. But I refuse. The air around me practically got sharper. The lighting shifted. Background wind appeared from nowhere. This was a moment, and both of us knew it. Because here's the thing, Alice. You just offered me a weapon that would let me enjoy combat guilt-free by turning my opponents into mindless beasts. And yeah, part of me, the part that was cackling like a lunatic while fighting Grambiria, wants that. But the whole reason I'm on this journey is because I believe monsters are people, with thoughts and feelings and lives. Stripping that away so I can have fun hitting them? That's not fighting. That's just cruelty with extra steps. I want to build a world where humans and monsters coexist. I can't do that with a sword that erases what makes monsters who they are. So yeah, cool sword, terrifying design, practical benefits. But I refuse. Alice stood there holding the nightmare sword, frozen mid-offer, staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Huh. I held my dramatic pose for exactly the right amount of time, then dropped it and got serious. Even if I beat monsters with that thing, their anger and hatred wouldn't stop. You know that better than anyone, Alice. I looked at my own hand, opening and closing my fingers. And more importantly, this sword would kill me. Her pupils shrank. What? Human bodies get corroded by holy element. The fallen angel's sword is packed with concentrated holy energy. Using it would be like drinking poison every time I swing. Enough exposure and my body starts crystallizing. I'd turn into a statue. Permanently. Alice's eyes went wide. Her hand yanked the sword back so fast it left a purple streak in the air, and she shoved it into the pocket castle like it was radioactive. You're lying. Nope. I kept my voice calm. Clinical even. Monster energy causes devolution and regression. That's how monster girls drain humans. Holy energy does the opposite. Evolution and solidification. Angels and high-level monsters can handle either one because their bodies are built for it. But human bodies? We're fragile. Too much of either side and we break. I paused, then added the real kicker. Without divine intervention, humans can't fully accept either force. We're stuck in the middle. Alice went quiet. Her tail tip curled and uncurled silently, grabbing at something invisible and letting go. Over and over. What I didn't say out loud was the plan forming in my head. In the game's ending, the goddess achieved a fusion of holy and monster energy in one body. If she could do it, theoretically so could I. And the key to figuring out how was a certain red-haired scientist angel in a lab coat and glasses, Promestine, the mad genius of heaven. She'd have the answers. But that's future planning. Right now, this was my mistake. Alice's voice interrupted my thoughts. Quiet. Almost small. I'm sorry. I blinked back to reality and found something I'd never seen before. Alice. Head lowered. Eyes looking away. Tail hanging limp on the ground. The royal arrogance dialed down to almost zero. She looked like a kid who'd accidentally broken something precious and didn't know how to fix it. She'd offered me a weapon that could have slowly killed me. She didn't know. But she cared that she didn't know. My mouth curved before I could stop it. It's fine. Hearing Alice apologize is pretty rare, though. Shut up. I snapped back to murder mode. Tail whacked the ground. Normal service resumed. Crisis averted. Emotional moment successfully deflected with teasing. We're good. We headed east to Happiness Village. Cute name. Cute place. Rolling hills, a few dozen houses scattered across a valley. Beehive boxes hanging under every roof. The air smelled like flowers and honey. Thick and sweet. The kind of smell that makes you want to take a nap in a field. But something was wrong. From the village entrance to the center, 0 adult men. Not one. Women at the well, looking nervous. Kids playing in the road, all girls. The place had this tense, hollow feeling, like someone had surgically removed half the population. Then I heard screaming. Let go of me. A boy, maybe 12 or 13, voice cracking with puberty and terror, was dangling in the air. A harpy bird. Monster, human woman on top. Giant feathered legs and talons on the bottom, had him by the shoulders, flapping massive wings that flattened the grass in every direction. She was grinning down at a cluster of terrified children, clearly planning to grab the whole batch. Can't ignore this. My hand hit the sword. My body moved on pure training autopilot. One blur of motion across the dirt road, channeling my inner Granburia, and I slapped the harpy across the face with the flat of my blade. Bonk. Feathers exploded. Her wings locked up. She did a half rotation in midair, dropped the boy and the other kids on his soft grass, tumbled into a bush with a spectacular crash, and then scrambled out in a panic of squawking and flying feathers, flapping away over the ridge like her life depended on it. Which it did. You okay? I crouched down and reached out to the kids. They stared at me with huge eyes. Then the boy burst into tears and tackled me in a hug. Within 30 seconds, the entire village materialized around us. Women pouring out of houses. Kids emerging from vegetable gardens. Old grandmas hobbling over with canes. Every single person was female or a child. Are you a hero? You must be a hero. The harpy ran away. The heroes scared her off. Thank goodness. The last few heroes who came all got captured by her. Wait. She captured the heroes too? The people sent to solve the problem got turned into the problem? That explains where all the men went. This harpy has been running a one-bird kidnapping operation and nobody could stop her. Until now. I stood in the middle of a crowd of grateful villagers, covered in feathers and boy tears, with Alice standing slightly behind me looking bored. Just another day in the hero business. Save village, receive gratitude, move on to next crisis. The hero life is an endless fetch quest, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The whole village swarmed us with thank yous. Old ladies tried to kneel. Women were crying. The usual, hero saves the day, reception. Then Alice opened her mouth and dropped a bomb on everyone's mood. How pathetic, arms crossed, tail swaying, cold smirk locked and loaded. Your children are being kidnapped right in front of you, and all you do is stand there screaming? Putting all your hopes on a stranger must feel really convenient. The entire crowd went silent like someone hit mute. A few women opened their mouths to argue, realized they had nothing, and slowly turned various shades of red and white. Some couldn't even look at her. She was right. They hated it. But she was right. She's got a point, I said, breaking the silence before it got lethal. Then I turned toward the mountains. Harpies are pack creatures. Take out the queen, and the rest falls in line. I'll handle it. I took one step, and the voices exploded behind me. Wait. I'm coming too. It was one of the women, still blushing from Alice's verbal beatdown, but her eyes had changed. No more cowering. This is our village. Our men. We can't rely on outsiders for everything. Me too. A younger woman stepped forward, fists clenched white, face set in full, "I'm getting my husband back or dying trying" mode. That's my husband up there. Count me in. Me too. I can't fight, but I know the mountain paths. One by one, they stepped up. The same women who'd been helpless and crying 5 minutes ago were now volunteering for a rescue mission. That's what I wanted. Not me swooping in like a solo superhero. Them realizing they could fight for themselves. Now we're talking. A village only survives when its people stand together. Night fell. I went up the mountain alone first. Stealth mission, scout the nest, assess the situation. The Harpy Cave was surprisingly cozy. Warm air, feathers everywhere, colorful woven fabrics on the walls. Not exactly a dungeon of horrors. The Harpy Queen sat on a throne made of branches and feathers, wearing a little crown of vines and gemstones. She was bigger than the regular harpies, with magnificent wings folded behind her back. The moment she saw me, every ounce of royal dignity evaporated from her face. I didn't even draw my sword. Just leaked a tiny bit of angel energy, barely a whisper, and she could barely breathe. "Please wait." I cut her off. "I already know what you're going to say. Harpies are all female. You need human men to reproduce. This is about species survival." Her mouth closed, then opened, then closed again. "But you went too far," I continued. "The women down there lost their husbands. Children lost their fathers. How are they supposed to live?" The queen's wings drooped. Her little crown wobbled. And in a voice heavy with genuine guilt, she said, "I understand. But for our people's survival, we had no choice, no excuses, no justification. Just the raw weight of a leader who'd done something terrible because she couldn't see another way." I looked at her for a long time, then nodded. "I know. That's why I brought a different solution." I pulled out a signal flare and launched it into the sky. Boom. Golden light exploded over the mountain. My signal for the villagers. I walked back down to the cave entrance and met the army. And what an army it was. The young wife from earlier was leading the charge, brandishing a kitchen knife with murderous intent. Behind her, dozens of armed women. Axes, carrying poles, rolling pins. One grandma was gripping a wooden pin like she was about to make the world's most violent pie crust. "We're here, hero. Hold on, everyone." I spread my arms across the cave entrance. "Before you go in, I need to tell you something. The men haven't been harmed. Not one. The Harpies have been treating them like family. Genuinely. I think you should see for yourselves before anyone starts swinging." Confused looks. Kitchen knife wife lowered her blade a few inches. Then the Harpy Queen led the men out. And the scene that followed was the single greatest piece of domestic chaos I have witnessed in either of my lives. "John," a village woman screamed and charged at a man who was being held arm in arm by a Harpy girl. "Get over here right now." "And Mary?" John's eyes bulged. He instinctively gripped the Harpy's hand tighter. Wait. She's family too." "She's what?" Nearby, a young village girl spotted a Harpy child who looked exactly like her and started screaming at her father for an explanation. "That kid has my face. What is going on?" "She's your Harpy sister." Another man had 2 Harpy girls hanging off his arms, looking like he wished the ground would swallow him whole. His village auntie looked him up and down for a solid 10 seconds, then sighed. "Well, they sure fed you well up here. Auntie, did you come to rescue me or roast me?" And the grand finale. A man in an apron getting dragged by his ear out of the crowd by his wife. "You heartless. I finally found you. They're your family too?" He was nodding through the pain when a Harpy girl emerged from the cave, holding a baby. The baby reached out its chubby arms and chirped. "Dada." The wife's brain crashed. Full system shutdown. Blue screen of marriage. Alice and I sat on a rock, side by side, watching the greatest soap opera in fantasy world history unfold before us. "This could run 80 episodes on daytime television," I said. "Maybe squeeze in a Shakespeare tragedy as a bonus." Alice had her arms crossed, but her mouth was doing something I rarely see. She was smiling. Not smirking. Not sneering. Actually amused. In that, watching humans be ridiculous is the best entertainment way. And this was exactly my plan. The moment those kidnapped men walked out looking healthy, well-fed, and clearly not wanting to leave, All the rage in those women deflated like a popped balloon. You can't maintain righteous fury when your husband is glowing with health and a baby harpy is calling him daddy. Hatred can't solve this mess. But a family situation so complicated that nobody knows who's in the wrong, that forces everyone to sit down and actually talk. The key ingredient was having someone stand in the middle, someone both sides would listen to, someone to be the balance point. That's me. That's what a hero is for. Not just swinging swords, being the person who stands between two groups and says, let's figure this out. Hero, the Harpy Queen's voice came from behind me. I turned. She was bowing her head. I don't dare ask for forgiveness. But you gave us a way out of an impossible situation. The Harpy tribe will never forget this debt. I looked at her. Looked at the chaos of crying wives, confused husbands, clingy harpies, and adorable mixed-species babies. This was messy. This was complicated. This was going to take years to sort out. But nobody was dead. Nobody was fighting. And for the first time, humans and monsters in this village were going to have to learn to live together. That's progress. Ugly, confusing, soap opera-level progress. I'll take it. The village square was lit up like a festival, except instead of celebrating, everyone was arguing about whose husband belonged to whom. Torches everywhere. Over 100 humans and harpies crammed into one space, sorting out the most complicated family tree in recorded history. I leaned against an oak tree and watched the chaos. And something clicked inside me. This continent is empty. I walked for days between towns and met more monsters than people. But right here, right now, humans and monsters were packed together, shouting, crying, arguing, living, side by side. Something deep in my soul, something from both lifetimes, woke up and said, This is what you're fighting for. I clapped my hands once. Not loud, but the entire square went quiet. Even the ear-pulling wives stopped mid-pull. Village chief. Harpy Queen. Come here, please. The chief was a tough old lady in her 50s, white-haired but spine straight as a flagpole. The Harpy Queen floated down like a feather, landing 3 steps from the chief. They looked at each other. Looked away. Classic. I have zero interest in your family drama, I said. Blunt. Direct. No sugarcoating. But happiness comes from work. If you want these new family arrangements to survive, you need to treat every new member, human or harpy, as a worker, not a problem. I laid out the plan. Harpies clear new farmland and expand the honey sources. They can fly. They can spot flower fields from the air. They're basically living agricultural drones. Village humans teach them beekeeping and farming techniques. Everyone works. Everyone eats. Everyone prospers. Understood? I looked between both leaders. The village chief spoke first. If they're willing to learn and work alongside us, then we have no objections. And I watched it happen in real time. The women's expressions softened. Kitchen Knife Wife was staring at her husband's harpy girlfriend's wings with a completely different look now. Not hatred. Calculation. She was thinking, those giant wings could fan the beehives and save me hours of work. The Harpy Queen stared at me for a long moment, then bowed with her wings spread in an elegant arc. We will follow your guidance. Within minutes, the chief and the queen were huddled together, comparing notes. Beekeeping is hard because, oh, my girls can fly high and find flower fields easily. Village women were sidling up to harpy girls asking if aerial honey harvesting was more efficient. The ice didn't just crack. It melted. I leaned back against my tree and let out a long breath. Clever. Alice appeared beside me, arms crossed, creating a physics-defying situation with her chest that I am not going to describe, watching the scene with me. It's simple, I said, looking up at the stars. People care more about eating well and living well than about drama. As long as bellies are full and life is good, race and origin stop matching. Make humans and harpies into one working unit, one family, and the village becomes truly happy. I turned to her with a bright grin. Besides, nothing brings people together like honest labor, right? She didn't answer. But her tail drew a slow, satisfied circle behind her, tip lifting slightly in the moonlight. That's Alice for. You did good, and I'll never say it out loud. Next morning, the entire village showed up to see us off. They stuffed so much happiness honey into my backpack that I had to pull out a second backpack to hold the overflow. These people tried to give us their entire year's supply. I kept saying, no, that's too much, and they kept shoving jars into my arms. The Harpy Queen flew down one last time just before we left. She didn't look at me. She looked at Alice and did a deep, formal curtsy, the kind reserved for royalty. If I may ask, are you perhaps? Alice looked at her with those calm golden eyes. I'm just an ordinary traveler. The Queen paused, then smiled, a knowing, quiet smile, and bowed again without pressing further. She understood. She flew back to the village without another word. Smart bird. She'll do well leading her people. I watched her disappear over the rooftops, then turned forward. Morning light on the road, dew sparkling on wild grass, the path stretching into the distance. Maybe what happened in Happiness Village was just one tiny spark. Maybe the real tests of trust between humans and monsters are still ahead. But that spark was real, and I genuinely, deeply believe, it'll keep burning. What are you thinking about? Alice asked. Less lazy than usual. More curious. I'm thinking. I looked at the blue mountains rising on the horizon. About our next stop, Irina Mountains, 2 backpacks of honey, 1 demon lord, 1 fake hero, and a whole world that doesn't know it's about to change. Let's keep walking. The legendary bandit gang of Irina Mountains, feared across the land, terrorizing travelers, stealing treasures, turned out to be 4 little girls hiding in a cave. I am not joking. The dragon girl barely reached my waist. She tried to breathe fire at me and produced approximately 1 birthday candle's worth of flame. The vampire girl was hiding in an oversized cloak, bearing baby teeth she hadn't finished growing yet, trying to look scary, but mostly looking like she was about to cry. The goblin girl was waving a stick taller than herself, drawing wobbly circles in the air that threatened absolutely nothing. And the Lamia girl had coiled herself into a ball, which I think was supposed to be intimidating, but actually just looked like a frightened cinnamon roll. I captured all 4 in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Alice strolled out from behind a rock where she'd been, observing, hiding, wearing her most evil smile. Impressive, you single-handedly defeated the bandit gang. So what shall we do with them? Kill them? Sell them? Eat them? Or perhaps the great hero has some other plans for these cute girls, for simultaneous explosions of crying. WAH. No. You. Wah wah. WH. Truly befitting of the great fake hero making so many adorable maidens weep for you. How heroic. You're the one who made them cry. I crouched down, switched to gentle voice, and told them to return what they'd stolen, apologize to the townspeople, and never steal again. For snotty noses nodded frantically. When we brought them back to Iliasburg, the town's reaction blew my mind. Instead of punishment, people just adopted them. The blacksmith looked at the mini dragon girl, stroked his chin, and said he needed an apprentice who could control fire temperature. Hired on the spot. The construction foreman sized up the goblin girl's arms, handed her work gloves, and put her on the crew. The vampire and Lamia girls got taken in by the Sutherland Inn's legendary innkeeper. They're just kids who need looking after, and there's always work to do. Alice watched all 4 get absorbed into human society with her usual cold expression. But her tail was doing that slow, thoughtful swaying again. She sees it every time now, monsters being accepted. And every time, something behind those golden eyes shifts just a little. The mini dragon girl, Barbie, suddenly ran out of the blacksmith's shop, grabbed my wrist, and shoved a red gemstone into my hand. Egg-sized, smooth, warm to the touch, glowing with soft crimson light. Some rich guy dropped this here. It's yours now. Thanks for helping us. She sprinted back inside, tail wagging like a flag. Alice's eyes locked onto the stone. That's actually here of all places. She raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised. Then she shrugged. The blue and silver gems are already with the monster side. The rest shouldn't be an issue. I vaguely remembered this from the game. Collect all 6 gems, and you can. Something. The memory was fuzzy. Filed it away for later. On our way out of town, I spotted Amira, the upside-down snake lady, hiding behind a tree, peeking at us with exactly half her face visible. The second she saw Alice next to me, her entire body retracted behind the tree trunk like a terrified turtle. That woman is going to have Alice-related nightmares for years. Then we reached Enrica, Aunt Michaela's hidden village. A dark elf appeared from the shadows to guide us in. Deep brown skin that blended with the forest and curves that were extremely well-defined. She was clearly sent by Annie as an escort, nodded at me silently, and started walking. I felt Alice's tail go rigid behind me for exactly 1 second. She said nothing, just followed, eyes drilling into the dark elf's back. Not jealous. Definitely not jealous. Just monitoring the situation. For security reasons. Obviously, in the clearing outside the village, Annie was waiting. Golden hair catching the breeze. That face so similar to Mom's, but without the wildness. Softer, warmer. Annie. I ran over and started unloading my backpack like Santa Claus. Croissants from Iliasberg's pastry shop. This charm was made by their craftsmen. And here, fresh happiness honey from Happiness Village. You put 1 spoonful in your tea, Michaela's arms were overflowing. She had that expression aunts get when their nephew brings too many gifts. Overwhelmed love mixed with, "You really didn't need to do this," she smiled helplessly. "You're coming back, you know? Why bring all this?" And that's when Alice noticed it. The honey. Her pupils contracted. Her gaze locked onto that jar like a missile acquiring a target. When did he take that out of the backpack? She'd been watching him the entire time and somehow missed him smuggling a jar of premium honey into his aunt's arms. I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting. Royal dignity versus honey desire. The battle was fierce. Her tail went stiff as a board, the tip vibrating in midair. I told Annie that Dad was still stuck because of storms, the ones Alice caused by punching the goddess, and asked her to check on Mom more often while I was traveling. That child has always needed me to look after her. Same as always. Auntie sighed and reached up to pet my head. Gentle, practiced, like stroking a cat she'd raised from a kitten. I may or may not have leaned into it. I may or may not have half closed my eyes like a contented animal. No comment. Alice stared at Auntie's hand. Watched it run through my purple hair. Watched me turn into a purring cat. Her fingers twitched. Then she clenched them into a fist. She wanted to try. She wanted to pet my head too. I could feel the desire radiating off her like heat from a furnace. But the demon lord does not pet people's heads. That's beneath her station. She's the supreme ruler of all monsters. She absolutely does not want to run her fingers through some human boy's hair, just because he looked cute getting head pats from his aunt. It was purely strategic interest. She just wanted to practice claiming Ilias's hero for herself. Yes, that's all. Completely tactical. Sure, Alice. Whatever you need to tell yourself. Auntie was holding her armful of gifts and asking how I planned to cross the ocean storm to reach the central continent. Are you going to fly? That seems dangerous. Time to deploy the secret weapon, shameless flattery. I walked right up to Alice, tilted my head back, and hit her with the biggest puppy dog eyes I could manage. My amazing travel companion Alice definitely has a solution, right? Right? Alice's tail froze. Her eyes flickered with genuine surprise. Huh? How did you know? Because the great and powerful Alice always has the answer. I cranked the worship eyes up to maximum. The expression I was making sat perfectly on the line between genuine trust and calculated cuteness, a surgical strike of charm. She looked away. Tail swept the pine needles into a little pile, cleared her throat. Fine. There's a treasure cave northeast of Iliasberg. Get the Poseidon's bell inside, and you can pass through any storm. But don't get used to relying on me. This is a one-time thing. I knew you'd have the answer. I nodded obediently while internally high-fiving myself. Oscar-worthy performance. Standing ovation from the audience of one inside my head. Of course I already knew about the storm. She caused it by punching the goddess. And the Poseidon's bell is probably being hunted by her own 4 heavenly knights right now. But some things are better left unsaid. Meanwhile, Auntie Michaela was standing 3 feet away, holding her honey jar, watching this entire exchange with an expression that could only be described as system error. Her brain was processing the following information. Her nephew was traveling with a girl. Not just any girl. A white-haired girl. With horns. And a snake tail. Who was clearly the demon lord. The descendant of the original serpent, whose army her sister once fought against. I could practically see the thought bubble above her head. Serpent ancestor. Look at your descendant. What is she doing with my nephew? And why is her hair white instead of yellow? Wait, same energy. Doesn't matter. She took a very deep, very controlled breath. Her fingers were unconsciously rubbing the honey jar, so hard it squeaked. Then she looked at my face, the face that looks just like her sister's, and mentally surrendered. Kids grow up. Can't control everything. Let it go. Luca. Her voice was calm again. Steady. She set the honey down and pulled out a brand new hand-drawn martial arts manual. You never finished learning the fist techniques. I drew all the moves and notes so you can practice on the road. I opened it. Beautiful ink drawings of stick figures throwing punches, with elegant handwriting marking every detail, even finger joint angles. She'd put hours into this. Every page was precise and careful, made with the love of someone who wanted to keep teaching even when she couldn't be there. Then she pulled out a sword. It was gorgeous. Slim, light, slightly thinner than a standard blade, and when sunlight hit it, rainbow. Actual rainbow shimmer along the edge. Forged from some rare mineral from a distant continent. It's stronger and lighter than your current sword. Give it a name. I thought about it very seriously. How about Rainbow Blade? Auntie's warm smile froze. Her eyebrow twitched. That's a sword, not a blade. Why would you call a sword a blade? Okay then. Belial Twilight. What are you planning to do to Grambiria? Alice's voice exploded from behind me with the energy of someone whose tail was literally stepped on. But it sounds so epic, I protested. Belial, the chess master of destruction and rebirth. Twilight, the border between light and darkness. It's poetic. Neither of them was having it. Auntie reached over, ran her fingers along the blade, and the rainbow light danced across her hand. Those ancient eyes that had watched 10,000 sunrises, reflected the shimmer. Call it dawn, she said softly. May it light your way forward in your darkest hour. Alice's expression shifted. She looked at Michaela, really looked at her, and nodded. A tiny, genuine smile touched her lips. Humph, that's exactly what I was thinking too. It's called dawn now. You don't get to argue. The most powerful angel and the most powerful monster just agreed on something. And that something was that my naming sense is terrible. Yes, ma'am. Both of you. When the sword of heaven and the demon lord both overrule you, the fake hero shuts up and accepts his beautifully named sword. Well, I'm off. See you later, Auntie. I clipped onto my belt and waved. Michaela stood under an old pine tree, golden hair catching the mountain breeze. She didn't say, be careful, or stay safe. She just smiled and waved back, watching us shrink down the mountain road until we disappeared into the green. Then she looked down at the honey jar in her arms and laughed quietly to herself. That boy picks his people just like his father. Translation, she was thinking about Alice. About the white-haired snake princess who'd somehow ended up walking beside her sister's son. And whether she liked it or not, she saw the same thing Mom saw in Dad. Something worth following, something worth believing in. Or maybe she was just talking about the honey. With Auntie, you never really know. The road to the treasure cave was longer than expected. We were still walking when the sun started hiding behind the mountains, painting everything in gold. Then a leech girl jumped out of a creek and lunged at me with a mouth full of tiny teeth. I didn't even draw my sword, just bonked her on the head with the sheath. One clean thwack. She bounced twice on the ground, curled into a ball, and hopped back into the water. Seraph Bloodline stats on display. I am comically overpowered for random encounters, and I refuse to apologize for it. We set up camp under a cliff. I pulled my kitchen out of the pocket castle and made dinner. Alice inhaled every bite with maximum elegance. Fork technique perfect, soup bowl drained clean, then slumped against a rock with her tail spread out beside her, tip lazily tapping the ground. Full. Happy. Post-food Alice is the most peaceful creature on earth. If you were a monster, I'd give you an earl's title, she said dreamily. Oh, what if the great demon lord disagreed? Don't be cheeky. I have my ways. She's not even pretending anymore. We both know she's the demon lord. She knows I know. I know she knows I know. It's the most elaborate game of mutual denial in history, and neither of us wants to be the first to blink. I decided to stir the pot a little. So, the demon lord who was defeated by the great hero Heinrich 500 years ago, supposedly the strongest ever, closest to the dark god. Was she really that powerful? Oomph. Alice didn't even try to hide her contempt. A brute drunk on power. Tried to dominate everyone through force alone. Getting beaten by a hero was exactly what she deserved. Then what about the current demon lord? I heard she also has the strongest magic power in history. If those two fought, who wins? Alice looked at me. Are you seriously comparing power levels? What are you, a child? Then something clicked behind her eyes. She remembered something. Specifically, watching Annie pet my head earlier. Her tail shot out like a striking cobra, wrapped around my waist, and yanked me across the campfire to right in front of her. Her fingers slid into my hair. She started petting me. Slow, deliberate strokes through my purple hair. Fingertips tracing along my scalp, down behind my ear, across the back of my neck. Gentle. Practiced. Like she'd been mentally rehearsing this since Enrica. The modern demon lord would win, obviously. She said it like stating that water is wet. Her hand kept moving. That barbaric old hag wouldn't stand a chance. I tried to form a rebuttal, but she quietly pushed a tiny thread of monster energy into me through her fingertips, and my entire body went limp. My eyelids got heavy. My grip on her tail loosened. My brain started filling with warm static. She was using magic to enhance the head pats. Weaponized head pats. This woman was fighting dirty. She watched my face go red and my eyes go half-closed with pure satisfaction. How is it? Feels nice, right? Just like having a mommy. I wanted to say, what kind of mother makes her child cook her 3 meals a day? But then I remembered that my actual mother does exactly that, and the counter-argument died in my throat. And as for Alice being like a mom, that train of thought was heading somewhere I absolutely could not let it go. Alice saw me hesitate and apparently took offense. Oomph. Her pupils narrowed. A ring of golden light flared in the depths of her snake eyes. Suddenly those vertical slit pupils were all I could see. My entire world shrank to 2 circles of hypnotic gold. My consciousness wobbled. My face went slack. A dopey smile spread across my lips without permission. I melted into her tail like warm butter. Being groomed by the great Alice Hafiz Sama is the greatest honor of my life. It's just like having a mom. Snap. I jolted awake like someone threw cold water on me. Alice, oh my, cuddling one moment, shouting the next. What a rebellious child. She was laughing. Zero remorse. Tail still firmly around my waist. She'd just used hypnosis to make me call her mommy, and she found it hilarious. My ears were so red they could have been used as emergency flares. I struggled upright in her coils, trying to fix my hair, which was now sticking up in every direction from being petted for 5 minutes, while staring very hard at the campfire and thinking about nothing. Fun fact about monster hierarchy. Only the highest-ranking family leader gets to groom their young. Alice is the demon lord, the supreme leader of all monsters. So in her mind, petting a human hero's head is just exercising her natural authority over all living things. She didn't pet my head because she wanted to. She petted my head because she's the boss and bosses pet whoever they want. That's her story and she's sticking to it. After she'd enjoyed my suffering long enough, her voice changed. Serious now. Tonight, more training. The lazy tone was still there, but the weight was different. You're wasting too much time on weak monsters. Every time you see a female upper body, you freeze. That habit needs to be fixed before we reach the port. Pick up your sword. I'm teaching you how to end fights fast. I gripped on. My knuckles went white against the handle. Firelight flickered across my face. This was going to hurt. Not physically. I could handle physical pain. But learning to fight monster girls efficiently meant learning to ignore what they looked like. Treating them as opponents, not people. Striking without hesitation at bodies that looked human. And that felt terrible. Even knowing it was necessary. Even knowing Alice was right. The campfire crackled. I stood up. Drew dawn. Rainbow light caught the flames. 2 lifetimes of being terrible with women. And now the demon lord herself was going to train me to resist feminine charm through repeated exposure. Night training by the campfire. Alice taught me a new move, originally called blood-rending thunder stab, invented by some edgelord swordsman whose kills apparently created blood lakes on the ground. That's disgusting. I'm calling it thunder thrust. Actually not a bad name. Alice didn't fight me on this one. A miracle. The naming god smiled upon me for once. I practiced. 1 breath. Weight forward. Then, explosion of movement. Dawn's tip punched through the air so fast the sound arrived late. The dead tree 3 meters away got a narrow hole drilled straight through its trunk. Clean. Precise. No blood lake necessary. Not bad. We enter the treasure cave tomorrow. The next morning we found the cave entrance hidden behind a cliff face. Alice stepped inside first, stopped immediately, and her whole face scrunched up like she'd bitten a lemon. Fox smell, huh? I sniffed the air. You mean, like body odor, whack. Her tail cracked across my lower back like a whip. Idiot. Monster girls do not have body odor. It's fried tofu smell. And it's strong. I rubbed my back and wisely chose to never, ever bring up monster hygiene again. We went deeper. It got dark. I lit a torch. Shadows danced on wet stone walls. Dripping water echoed. Classic dungeon atmosphere. Very spooky. Weird that there's treasure here, but no skeletons, I said, voice bouncing off the walls. You think it's haunted? G-ghosts? Alice's voice jumped half an octave. Alice? Nothing. She snapped back to cold mode instantly. But her tail had gone rigid. Stiff as a metal rod. Tip trembling. Oh right. I forgot. The most powerful demon lord in the modern era, supreme ruler of all monsters, capable of punching gods, is afraid of ghosts. I said nothing. Just kept walking. But I noticed her creeping closer. First she was one fist length behind me. Then half a fist. Then, something very soft, very heavy, and very warm pressed against the back of my head and shoulders. Something that came in a pair and defied the laws of physics with its structural integrity, along with the scent of snow cedar and flowers. Very close. Alice, aren't you a bit too close? You're the one who's too close. Her voice rocketed up 3 octaves, full cat with its first standing up energy. I am not scared. Ghosts have zero scientific basis. They're hallucinations created by stupid people. They are the product of ignorance. She was now pressed completely against my back. I thought she was adorable. I did not say this out loud because I enjoy being alive. Something's coming from deeper inside,